What really gets my dick hard is
so fucking what? Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Welcome to Metal Up Your Podcast. I'm Ethan Luck.
And I'm Clint Wells.
And this is episode 64. And I got to point out right away, we're not at HQ1. We're not at HQ2. We're definitely not in my Forerunner right now. We're at what now is called HQ4. We're at the Smokestack, Paul Moak studio. Paul?
It's funny. Paul's not here. I was really looking forward to pulling up and seeing Paul's truck. And he's not here, but he has generously let us camp out at HQ4. Officially, we dubbed the HQ4.
Yeah. Well, Paul, when we first talked about it as a joke, Paul was like, it could be HQ4. And you know what? Paul? It is now.
For those of you who have not heard us go on and on about it, it's one of the coolest boutique studios in Nashville. And all of that, Ethan and I have made lots of records in town.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of stuff, been in really big historic rooms here in town, Woodland and RCA and all this. But the Smokestack it's got its own thing, man.
It's its own flavor, man. I tell people often who are looking for a place to record, like, you got to go record there, go check it out. Not only is it my favorite studio in Nashville, it might be one of my favorite studios I've ever recorded in.
I would put it in that.
And I've really only recorded in studios in Tennessee and California, but and Florida once. But
of all the smokestacks I've recorded in, this is the best smokestack.
Exactly, yeah. It's the only smokestack I've recorded in that doesn't have a smokestack. Most of them do.
Well, so needless to say, thank you to our dear friend and your constant third guest host, Paul Moak.
Yeah.
A great friend of ours, a great dude. We love his ass. What else can we say? Let's stop talking about Paul.
All right. And what we need to do is introduce who is sitting across the room from us right now at HQ4.
Another special treat. We have our friend Matt Thomas in the house.
What's up, Matt?
How's it going, guys?
So we talked about Matt in the last episode that this was coming up. Matt did Pyro for... Who did you do Pyro for? Why is he here?
I think it was it Limp Bizkit?
It was Limp Bizkit, yeah.
Or no, Avril Lavigne?
System of a Down.
Okay. Oh, yes, correct.
I actually like that band.
No, he did the North American Stadium Tour. For those of you who were lucky enough to attend that show, during the song One, when all the shit went off and you felt like your eyebrows just got burned off, Matt was responsible for some of that.
Anytime you saw the fire on the top of those trusses at the top of the screens, that was Matt. So we're going to get into all that and talk to Matt about how his day works on a tour like that, how involved it is in setting that stuff up. Where do you, is it gasoline? Is it kerosene? Is it butane? Is it, I don't know.
Is it an LED screen? Is it all
hairspray?
fake? Yeah, it is hairspray, by the way.
I think it's just a guy on top of the truss with a lighter and a can of hairspray going...
I wish I had hairspray.
So if you're just joining us, maybe for the first time, maybe your friend told you about us this past week, we're an all Metallica podcast. Ethan and I are two professional touring musicians based out of Nashville. We get together once a week to talk about our favorite metal band, Metallica.
Correct.
So we're glad you're here. Thanks for being on the ride. Let's just go ahead and get the housekeeping shit out of the way. Let's do it quick. We do a thing called an iTunes contest. All you got to do, go leave us a positive review on iTunes. We put your name into a drawing. We draw 5 names a month. This month's a little unusual. Just like in February, we're doing 10 winners, and we're giving you access to our patron exclusive all Metallica covers EP, Cover Hour Black and Volume 1, and the debut Lunar Satan single, We Ride the Skies. All you got to do is leave the review and we draw your name. So go do it. It's not hard. Good
It's
God.
so easy.
It takes a second.
Maybe 3 seconds, but come on.
We're around 260 or 270 positive reviews. We're looking real good over there. Every little bit of that helps.
Oh, yeah.
We really appreciate everyone who's taking the time to do it. I mentioned the Patreon. We have this thing called Patreon. We're going to talk about that a little later. We want to mention our new patrons this week.
Yeah, we got 3 new patrons this week. We have Jacob Osmo, Danny Santana, no relation, and Scott Michael Sanderson. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate that. And they know we give them a lot of love privately on the Patreon site. We try to give them exclusive content. One of the things we did for our patrons is we put it out to them that we were actually going to be talking with our friend Matt. Any questions they would have for the Pyro guy, for Metallica, and we got a shit ton of them.
We got a bunch, yeah.
We're going to get to that later. We're on all the socials. We have a bitchin' website, metalupyourpodcast.com. On that website, we have our merch. We have if you ever wonder about Ethan and I, we've guested on lots of other podcasts telling our musical stories, talking about where we come from, what we do. I've done somewhere I talk about Kiss and Pearl Jam. There's a whole section on the website where you can see all the other interviews we've done. We have our Instagram feed is over there. What else is on the website?
Merchandise.
That's cool?
You can get t-shirts over there. You can get buttons, stickers.
You can hear clips of the EP. It's cool. Go check it out.
There's all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
We're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. All the things. All the stuff the kids.
You know
are
how
doing.
to find things on those things, so go find us on those things.
The best way to reach us, though, however, is our website.
Well,
let's just keep doing the feedback loop on the website.
You could go to our website and get a hold of us because there's a link to email us.
I mean our email address, metalupyourpodcast@gmail.com. We read a handful of emails every week. We get more than we can read. We like this part of the show because it's sort of a moment to invest in the Metallica community. We get to sort of air people's stories they otherwise might not be able to share with people.
Yep.
Having said all that, good God, let's get into the emails.
All right, our first email is from Will Valor. Hey guys, I just heard my name announced as the winner of the free download of Cover Our World Blackened. Thank you so much, but I've already downloaded it and have been listening to it since I'm also a patron. Well, thank you very much, Will Valor. Great job on reimagining the songs. If you'd like to forward it on to another one of your listeners, please feel free. Well, that's very, very generous.
Cool.
I'd also like to add that I really enjoyed the latest episode podcast, the latest podcast with Wayne, who was also apparently staying in the next town over from me in Eastchester, New York. Small world. Well, that's cool. You guys should have hung out.
Worlds
Colliding. You were there.
I was standing.
They say you were there at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was standing.
Yeah, you were there. Two worlds colliding.
I was doing reverse lyrics. Jeez.
Okay.
Anyways, he ends his email by saying, I'm psyched to say that I secured tickets to see Metallica in Albany, which will be my 16th show since 1991. Unfortunately, Albany is a hike from New Jersey, so I guess the next Metal Podcast party will not work out this time around. Well, if the stars align, Will, and me and Clint are able to go to Albany, then maybe we could do a party up there.
Well, he's saying even if we do one up there, that Albany's too far for him.
But I thought he got tickets for Albany.
Oh, he did. He's saying, because we're doing the party in New Jersey. So, okay.
Here we were going to do the party in New Jersey, but there's no New Jersey show.
But now there's no New Jersey show. We're probably, if we go to the Albany show, the party will be probably in Albany.
Yeah. All that kind of stuff.
Sorry, that's gotten confusing with
okay.
all the announcement of all these tour dates.
The closer it gets is when we'll kind of start talking about which shows we can go to. We don't know yet if we're going to be on tour or not with our other jobs. But we'll let you know on our podcast as soon as possible.
Thanks, Will. Our next email is from Mike Fell. He says, guys, dug the Wayne Summers interview. To answer your question, I'd totally give it back to the boys, talking about the Master of Puppets backdrop, of course. He says, I'm not a collector, and no way that makes it up, and no way that would make it up into our house. I can't even put up the poster I bought at the Nebworth UK show on the World Magnetic Tour. The boys appreciate it more than I ever could. Also, I loved the concept of underappreciated songs, which was the episode we did with our friend Tom Clee.
Right.
He says, I'd love to hear a most overrated songs episode, even if it would be controversial. I think my list includes, and then he names what he believes to be overrated Metallica songs. He says, The Thing That Should Not Be, Cyanide, Seek and Destroy, Sabbath True, and Fuel.
Wow.
He gave decent reasons for him. We can't get into all that now. We have too many emails. But that might be an interesting episode for the future.
I think that could end up being a controversial episode.
I love controversy.
We love it.
We're
over
steeped
here.
in controversy. Hashtag me too. Okay. He says, anyway, curious for yours if you dare to go there. We will. We'll do it. That'll be fun. He says, Mike in Houston. P.S. Lunar Satan is seriously great.
It's true.
I'm glad that the people like the Lunar Satan stuff. Matt even confided in us right before we started airing that he likes the Lunar Satan track.
He does.
I love it.
I consider it a high honor.
All right, next
He's listening to it right now. By the way.
He is, yeah. He's got headphones on.
listening to
He's not
it.
even listening to us. Next email's from Matt Hicks. He says, "What's up, bros? I was wondering if you guys were going to do an episode on the upcoming tour and the newly announced Black Ticket, which is very cool, by the way.
Now, the Black Ticket, for those of you who don't know, I think it's basically $600, and you have general admission, floor access to any of the 34 shows on the upcoming North American tour.
I mean, that's a steal.
Pretty bitchin', and there are only 250 of them, so...
Yeah. It's amazing. He says, by the grace of the metal gods, I was lucky enough to snag one today, and the plan has already begun, to say the least. I'm assuming there are going to be 249 other fans with some awesome plans in store for the upcoming tour. Cheers, bros. Looking forward to the upcoming episodes. Matt from New Jersey.
The cool thing about where the podcast is at now, especially we've come a long way in a year, is that with this recent tour announcement, it was so nice that like when everyone got this black ticket, or even when they just got tickets to a show, they're sort of reaching out to us. They're excited. They're sharing that with us. We're able to sort of retweet it and be part of the community. It's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay. Danny Santana, new patron of the show.
Friends with Rob Thomas.
He's so smooth. They got that new single coming out.
Oh, yeah. The new one's called Smoother.
Smoother. Yeah, the smoothiest. He says, hey, guys, big fan of the podcast. I only found it recently, and I'm currently going back to hear all the past episodes. As many have said before me, I'm thankful for my new Metallica buds, that's us, by the way, that get me through my work week. Truly grateful for you guys. Anyways, what would I do if I had the backdrop? I 100% would have given it back to the band. I go to a lot of Dodger baseball games and always maintain the attitude that if I ever caught a milestone home run ball, I just want the opportunity to hand it over myself with a hearty handshake.
It's the only kind of handshake you should give.
I slipped into kind of like a vocal hour voice.
It was kind of a narration.
Welcome to Vocal Hour with Danny Santana.
We're talking about hearty handshakes today.
He says, Metallica being my all-time favorite band, meeting the band, and of course James in particular, would be the greatest reward I could have ever imagined to receive. For a band that's given me so much, it would be my greatest shot at thanking them. I agree with that. He says, again, love the show and love the takes on some interesting choices you made for your covers EP. I've honestly always loved The Unnamed Feeling, and your cover reinforces my opinion that there's some beautiful music buried deep beneath the Saint Anger record. P.S. Please say hello to Dave and Torben on my behalf. Hello, Danny.
Greetings, Daniel.
I didn't know that Dave and Torb made it to HQ4 tonight.
Yeah, they were in Studio A tracking something together.
He says, Metal Up Your Podcast asses. Well, Danny, thank you so much for the email. Thanks for becoming a patron of the show. He's emailed us actually a few more things today. He emailed us some stuff we're going to be reading on later episodes. He's a really cool cat.
Yeah,
real
definitely.
smart cat. So thanks a lot, Danny. Glad you're on the ride.
All right, next email is from Jacob Isaacson Osmo.
New patron.
Hello, Clint and Ethan. Jacob here from Sweden again.
Sweden! Paul?
Matt,
You just woke Paul up.
You want to give us a good Sweden?
Sweden?
Well, you got to kind of
Sweden.
You have to kind of shout it.
Matt's
Not
not a
big on
shouter.
shouting.
He's not a shouter.
He hasn't shouted in 30 years.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll take that. That's a nice, it's a humble Sweden. He says, it's been almost a year now since I wrote in, but just wanted to tell you that I'm still on the ride and still loving it. Just decided to become a patron to the show to show my appreciation for all the work you put into this awesome podcast. It's a great time to be a Metallica fan. In 2 months, I will go to the show in Norway and the 2 shows in Sweden. Am I excited? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Give me fuel.
He says in a little Hetfield voice. A little Hetfield there. The European tour is looking great so far with the stage setup and set list. It was interesting hearing you talk about Ghost in your last episode. Ghost is one of my favorite bands at the moment. The 3 albums they have put out are great, and you should definitely check them out if you haven't already. It's a good mix of melody and heaviness. James is a big fan of them as well. He attended their show in Toronto last year when they were on the tour with Iron Maiden. There's a clip where you can see James rocking out to them at the show.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's
Cool.
awesome. He ends by saying, well, anyways, keep up the great work with the podcast and long live Metallica. Best wishes, Jacob from Sweden.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you, man.
Really cool, man. Our beloved Joe B. Johanna writes in. She says, hey, guys, I may have been quiet the last few months, but all the while actively listening. Just wanted to drop a line to say I'm so happy to hear about your subscriber and patron growth lately. You truly deserve it, and I feel lucky to have been able to be along for the ride. 2 other things. The EP. I left a short comment on Patreon when you posted it, but want to reiterate how much I love this album. I can hear the time, care, and love you put into it, and can't wait for the next one. I'd never spent too much time with a couple of these songs before, and you both breathed a new life into them that makes me love them in a wholly new way. North American tour. She says, living in New York City, I'm wondering which the hell shows I'll be able to be attending. Yeah, I guess up there it's Buffalo and Albany.
Yeah.
She says Nashville, perhaps. Anyway, if you're all in the mood to make it to New Jersey at any point, regardless, +1 to my attendance, I would cross 2 rivers to share a beer with you and the rest of the Tri-State Metal Up Your Podcast family. Johanna. Man, I say she should come down to Nashville. We're hosting. Yeah. We've kind of got it in the works here, and I'm sure Matt's going to come too.
Yeah.
Unless we're all on tour.
Now, I'll point out real quick before you get into this. chances are it's going to happen for us.
Because it's in January, which is slow season.
It's very rare that I've gone on tour in January, but it's possible. You know, a lot of times people maybe do South America or Australia, stuff in Southern Hemisphere.
Look, you two may
especially.
call me any day. I mean,
Right.
I'm waiting for that phone call from Bono to go to Dublin in January. I don't know. I don't know. That's the whole point.
Know. But chances are we'll be home in next January.
And we're hosting a party with our friend Blake Metallica the night before the Nashville show.
And I'd imagine we can probably just do it at the Cobra again. We're doing our anniversary party.
I don't know if the Cobra could handle it. A lot of people.
I think we would be on to pack that place out.
You know what's really kind of humbling and cool is a lot of people are specifically, of their maybe 1 or 3 to 4 shows they can go to on this tour, they've decided to come to the Nashville show just so they can go to this party. We've gotten emails about that. So I'd love to hang out with Joe and any of our listeners that want to come. Matt, are you down to come to that?
I plan on it.
Okay.
If I'm same thing.
He'll be there like blowing up shit, setting shit on fire.
Yeah, Matt's going to have a big
like,
pyro
dude,
setup.
we're not at the show, dude.
I got snakes and sparklers for that party.
Okay, perfect.
Right, pop rocks.
Yeah, we can't get all Great White in that club.
Thanks, Joe, for the email.
All right, next email is from Andrew Evans. Hey, gents, I asked myself what I would do if I was in Wayne's shoes. I don't think I could bring myself to keep it or sell it, knowing how much it means to my favorite band. However, I think I would have a hard time convincing my wife, who does share the same connection to Metallica as I do. But what Wayne did was the right thing to do. P.S. At my wedding, my wife and I walked into our wedding reception for whom the bell tolls.
I can't imagine doing that. That's amazing.
Gosh, I wish I would have done that looking back. Jeez. Damn it. My marriage is just...
I'll marry you tomorrow and we can do it.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Can we get married in Tennessee?
It's a federal law now. We can get married anywhere we want.
Okay. Well, that's
do it.
settled then.
Yeah. Matt's going to do pyro at our wedding. Please welcome Mr. and Mr. Wells Luck. That'd be amazing. Okay. Where was I? My wife and I had all the songs picked out in advance. And the night before the wedding, my friend who was emceeing at the wedding, we're having some beers and putting together the playlist together when we realized we had overlooked the walk-in song. After the ceremony, we went off and got our wedding photos done. And when we arrived back to the venue for the reception, we were walking towards the door and we stood there. And my wife goes, "Oh no, we forgot about the walk-in song." And I said, "Don't worry, I got us covered." About 30 seconds later, for when the bell tolls starts, her face was priceless. But everyone loved it, and it made for a great talking point. Anyways, guys, I have some old episodes that left to catch up on yet. So I'll keep chipping away at them. Yours and rock and roll. Thanks, Andrew. That is amazing.
Well, she's like, is it too soon for an annulment? What's the annulment clause here?
Now, was there a look on her face priceless, as in like, I can't believe
you
did
priceless
this?
could really cover a lot of ground.
It could have either been, I can't believe you did this, or it would have been, I can't believe you did this.
I think he needs to email my fiance because we're still kind of in the planning phase.
That's right.
Of our,
You're newly engaged, right?
So that could probably ruin our wedding too.
Or bless it.
Probably.
I mean, I think.
Well, I think our listeners may be curious. We're going to get into Matt's whole deal here soon, but just while we're here, planting a flag here, are you a Metallica fan?
I am.
Okay, so that's on the table. I mean, that could happen.
I am. It's not really her style of music.
Classic for almost every relationship ever. Dude loves Metallica, lady not so much.
Yeah.
Although we have
it.
many lady fans that love it, of course.
Oh yeah.
I think she can get over it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Great way to start the relationship. Thanks so much to whoever. Andrew? Was it Andrew? Sorry.
That was Andrew Evans, yeah.
All right. And I got to say, the response to the Wayne episode and Wayne's whole story has been super positive.
It's been great, yeah.
We put it out to the listeners. What would you do? Would you give it back? Blah, blah, blah. Everyone has said that they would try to emulate what Wayne did. He truly is a hero.
He's a hero.
Okay. Troy Sigafoos.
I'm sick of the foo.
I'm sick of the foo who doesn't eat his greens. Troy Sigafoos says, "Hey, Clint, Ethan, my name's Troy. I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm 17. Huge fan of your podcast, and I'm pretty behind. I've just finished the Reload episode, but I must say your show has entertained me for hours. Before I heard your show, I only had the Black Album.
Wow.
But now I own all the pre-Black Album stuff and Hardwired. Listening to you guys has made me even more of a fan of the music than I once was. It's mostly just metal and grunge, but it's amazing. I'm really hoping to see Metallica in October. I've never been to any kind of concert before.
Wow.
So that will be a new experience, hopefully. I also want to share a story from school today. We're talking about World War I in history class when my teacher put on the one music video and then was promptly fired, by the way. Yeah. The one music video to show trench warfare effects. I was wearing my green Justice tee, so I was really surprised when I heard the beginning, and now I have to write an analysis paper on disposable heroes. I might have the best history class ever. Your fan, Troy.
You do have the best history class ever.
Man, I love hearing from like younger listeners like Troy.
I know, it's great.
Really appreciate you listening, Troy. Tell all your Metallica nerd friends like us that we exist.
Well, and you know what? I mean, I'm assuming your teacher knows the themes of war James has written about on a lot of records. But if he doesn't, maybe you can remind him. There's a lot of other songs that have to do with that kind of stuff.
Well, he's writing this analysis paper on the Disposable Heroes.
I know, it's amazing.
There we go. Okay.
All
Last
right,
email.
Last email is from Stephanie Zink. She says, "Heyo. So it's Monday, and I've already booked the hotel for the Nashville show on the 24th. That's the 24th of January.
I know, it's a fucking almost a year away.
Yeah.
Who knows? The planet might be in smoldering ashes by then.
We don't know.
Good God.
She said, looking forward to meeting up with you guys the night before. I know Blake Talica was talking about a pre-party, so I'm looking forward to that one. Seems like a lifetime away at this point. I'm going to be hitting the following shows on this tour: Nashville, Cleveland, Cincinnati. Planning on early entry for that show. Louisville and Indianapolis. And now we wait. Later, Stephanie.
Stephanie's also a patron of the show. Really sweet chick. Really cool. She actually won the Master of Puppets, yeah.
The
Master of Mary Poppins Deluxe box set. Always good to hear from Stephanie. We're going to see her at the party. A lot of people are going to come to this party.
Well, we better be home.
I know, shit.
I'm still bummed I missed the 1 year anniversary.
I know.
You missed it by like a couple days, I think, too.
Yeah, what were you doing? Why couldn't you make it?
I just came home from tour, I think 3 or 4 days before, and me and the fiance took a road trip. We went to the Grand Canyon.
You invested in your relationship, but that's
I had to.
That's a good excuse.
Yeah.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was the emails. Good God.
Hey, this is Ethan and Clint from Metal Up Your Podcast, and we want to talk to you about something we love called Patreon.
That's right. Patreon is a way for fans of the show to give back to the show, to donate money that helps us in quality and content. And not only that, but we've actually come up with all sorts of fun incentives to give back to you for supporting the show.
Exactly. For instance, if you donate $5 or more, you get access to Cover Our World Blackened, which is the official Metal Up Your Podcast Metallica cover EP.
That's right, and that's the only way to get it. In addition to the EP, we also give you priority email access, meaning we'll read your email first on the show. We give you early access to Patreon-exclusive merchandise, Patreon-exclusive giveaways, and any other side projects that Ethan and I might be involved in.
There's all sorts of things you can look at on there and you can donate to. Go check it out. Patreon.com/metalupyourpodcast. How do you spell that, Clint?
patreon.com/metalupyourpodcast. And if you really think about it, $5 a month for an entire year, that's really just like a cup of coffee a month. So go check it out. Thanks, everyone. Peace.
Adios. All right, so let's jump into it. Matt, you're here. You're on the show.
I'm finally here.
You're finally here. We've talked about this for a while. I think even when we went to the Detroit show and you gave us an awesome tour of your job in the backstage area, we talked, man, this would be so cool to have you on the show sometime. And that was, what, 7-8 months ago?
At least. I know it's been a long time.
It's been a while.
Well, let's talk about, so first of all, so Matt is our guest here at HQ4, came here from Clarksville, about an hour away, and gave us all these amazing gifts.
Yeah.
He gave us a personalized bag tag.
Yeah.
Had our names on him. He gave us access to some of these guitar picks. He gave us a set list for almost every show on the North American tour, minus one Mexico City show.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You really let us down.
You
I'm a horrible
fired.
person, I know.
You fired.
You fired.
And the thing is, at that
Oh, and don't forget the gift card.
Oh, the gift card,
We're
the
gonna
all within
give
your
this out on the
hands.
show.
We're going to use this. We're actually going to give that out on the show. That's right.
Yeah, we'll get it on the show. And Matt, the amazingly kind person that he is, preloaded this with $25. That's how you had to buy it.
Right.
I actually have one with nothing on it because my wife works for Starbucks, so no big deal. But Matt preloaded this thing out of the kindness of his heart and his wallet with $25. So we're gonna give away on the show. It's the Starbucks partnership.
Yeah, it's the
whatever.
all within my hands
Yeah.
thing. But also at the show we went to, he gave us guitar picks. He gave us one of Lars's drumsticks.
Yeah, I think you got a Lars stick, and I think you got a James stick, maybe.
I know I got a large stick, but it was for the big drums.
Now that we're dead
that
moment.
we didn't love.
Okay, yeah.
You're like a Metallica Santa Claus.
Metalliclaus.
Yeah.
Metalliclausica.
Well, so I know a lot of our listeners kind of want to hear the ins and outs of what you do, how it works, your relationship with the boys, all this stuff. Let's just start at the beginning. So how did you get started working in music production? Obviously, your speciality is pyrotechnics. Walk us through sort of how that happened for you. Because you have to be sort of insane to do that job, right?
A little bit, yeah. Right out of high school, I knew I wanted to be in the industry somehow. I was lucky. My father's in the industry a little bit. He's a bus driver, coach driver for you guys.
For us.
Probably at some point.
He means his dad drives buses for like bands.
Yeah. Although you guys have probably crossed paths with him. He's worked with almost everybody.
Okay.
From the Wiggles to Aerosmith to Tim and Faith.
All bands I've been in. Yes.
Yeah.
I used to be in the Wiggles. Yeah,
I'd love to see you in a Wiggles outfit.
I used to be in the Wiggles. Mate, aren't they Australian?
I wanted to do audio at first, and it just didn't pan out. I kind of accidentally fell into a Pyro gig. Met some good people. They offered me a job. That was in 2012, and I've been doing it ever since. I turned it into a career somehow.
I mean, like when you get involved in Pyro, I'd imagine when you're first starting to deal with explosives, it's quite intimidating. I mean,
Well, I was going to say, it was like, is it part of the application process? Is like, all right, how many fingers have you blown off?
I actually have almost all 10 of them. I've only almost lost one, so it's okay. 4th of July, backyard, playing with fireworks as a kid, it was always fun. I was the lucky 1% of 1% that can turn it into a career.
that's awesome.
That's kind of like what we do.
yeah, that's right. I mean, I don't have a job right now, but yeah, sure.
Well, so now you work for a sort of local Nashville pyrotechnics company. And so
I do. Our company's, we're based all over. We have offices in Vegas, New York, Pennsylvania, one up in Canada somewhere, and then we have one here in Nashville. So I'm kind of a contractor. They call me and they say, hey, we have this tour. It's for this many months. Are you interested? Yes or no? And I kind of pick and choose where I go. I picked Metallica last year because that's why not. Who's not gonna go to Metallica?
Exactly.
Well, you mentioned before that you are a fan, so you're doing pyro for all sorts of gigs. Ethan and I, and now you, Matt, of course, we all are. We're in the entertainment industry. We're sort of impervious to celebrity and all this stuff. It's just not part of what we do. We have to sort of be kind of numb to that in a sense. But as a fan, you get that contract, right? Are you super stoked?
Yeah. That first email of, hey, I've got a show for you. And they tell you the dates, they tell you the city, but they don't tell you where you're going or for who you're going for. So I did a little research, and there's only one band playing in Mexico City on these 3 dates. Obviously, it's Metallica.
Oh, so like when you got the Metallica offer from your company,
I didn't know that it was Metallica.
Wow,
No.
okay.
And is that standard? They won't tell you who the artist is. They'll just sort of block off the dates.
Sometimes I personally don't care.
Right. Because a job's a job.
A job's a job.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've always tried to approach this industry. Is a job's a job. It doesn't matter who it is. I may not like the music, but it's a paycheck.
Again, very, very analogous to what we do.
But when I found out it was Metallica, it's you get a little excited about work, and it was fun.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, I've done work where I'm playing for an artist, playing in bands, also working for bands as a guitar tech, this and that. And it's definitely an added bonus if you're going to work every day doing your normal job, and you like the band you're working for, and you get to listen to your favorite band every night.
Yeah, I think I've seen 30 something Metallica shows now.
So for you, was Mexico City those 3 nights? Were those the first things you did?
That was my first Metallica shows.
And did you go do the Copenhagen stuff with them?
I didn't.
Okay.
I only did I did Metallica Mexico. Those were 3 nights over 5 days, something like that.
Right.
I think it was like 200,000 people at the Fora Sol. It's insane down there. The Mexico fans are great, loud.
Oh yeah, they're so loud.
The actual stage, the deck, as you guys like to call it, was built on the.
We coined that term.
It was built on I think it's like the F1 IndyCar track. So it's a concrete track. They start jumping, and a metal set that's built on concrete starts moving, and to feel 200,000 people jumping at you.
Right.
It's a completely different feeling, something you just can't explain.
Well, that sort of leads us into Mexico City was a little bit unique, right, than the stadium tour. But what's an average day like? I mean, what you guys? So you're part of the crew. You guys get there before the band, obviously. Metallica's at a level where, for those of you who may not know, they're at such a level where they're not present for much of the building and all the stuff that happens behind the scenes that most of us don't know about.
They don't need to be.
So for us. We normally come in a day before to a stage that's about 75% already built.
So there's people even getting there before the pyro team.
Even before us, yeah.
To start building.
I think it was a 3-day steel build, which is where they actually come in, they put the towers up, they build the steel that goes underneath the actual stage, they put the decking down. the tour crew.
So you just called it a deck. See, it's not just us, man.
Decking.
The crew shows up, call it a Tuesday. We'll show up at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. We screens, backline, audio, pyro. We'll load in. It's normally a 12 to 16-hour day, depending on the weather. We'll do a little bit of I guess for you guys, a sound check. So we'd test fire a few things, make sure everything's talking correctly, make sure all of our wires are ran right.
And the band's
not there for that.
Okay, so that's just their guitar, their backline techs are.
The backline guys are there. They're restringing, tuning, doing their normal day. Then say on Wednesday we would come back in around 10, do another full walkthrough, a proper sound check, and then get into a normal show day. But this tour was a little bit bigger. The sheer size of the tour, we actually had 3 sets. So we were in City A, while City B and City C were already being built.
Unbelievable.
So as we get to B, A is being torn down and already being built at City D. It may be 6 days away, but that's how long that stage actually takes to build.
There's a lot of artists that are that big, like on that Metallica tour, like U2, for instance. They're known for doing these huge arena tours. U2, me too.
Also,
yes, the band U as well. No, but they're known for doing these huge productions on their tours.
Stadium tours,
the 360 tour, stuff like that.
Yep.
So it's just this rotating thing. Like when the show's happening, the show before is getting torn down, and the next 2 or 3 shows are getting built.
But let me ask you this: in terms of the Pyro team, you're not going ahead, right? You're kind of the present show that you're working on. That's what you're doing.
That's the show we're at. Yeah.
Right.
So we only have 1 set as far as the Pyro gear.
How many people are on the Pyro team?
We had 6 people this past year.
Okay, wow. I actually
pretty
would have
good
guessed
sized crew.
more.
Yeah,
I actually would have guessed
more.
more, but so 6 of you.
6. We have we had one dedicated pyro guy that did all of the actual stuff that went up in the air that everybody saw.
Bart Simpson, yes.
We had we had 2 guys that did all the stuff underneath the deck. The moth and the flame and the dancing flames, and then
Right.
myself, and I had another guy that was climbing for me. He would actually go up to the top of these towers, 75, 80 feet in the air with a rope. I would tie the rope onto the gear at the bottom. He would haul it up, secure it, then haul up the hose, secure it. I would hook everything up downstairs. Then we would test fire everything. So it was a long day. I mean, you're climbing 75 to 90 feet in the air. It'll take a lot out of you.
Well, those towers weren't short at all. If anybody listening went to the stadium tour,
Massive.
giant. I mean, those screens alone were, how tall were those?
Oh, I don't remember the screens.
You're not
now.
175 million
LED guy.
feet.
But, no, but I mean, those towers are huge. I mean, we said 50, 60 feet.
And we were above that.
Yeah.
We used 100-foot hoses for the entire, for all of the positions, and we used every inch of hose.
Yeah.
Just out of necessity.
So when you're talking about tying ropes and guys climbing and obviously knowing the Pyro itself, like what kind of training did you have, if any, or like what are the prerequisites? I know I jokingly mentioned how many fingers were blown off, but to sort of like be trusted with that sort of level of danger and security and safety, walk us through what the credentials are like to be able to be trusted to do that job.
I've got a couple different national licenses, I guess you could say. A lot of them it's just background check, making sure I'm not a felon, I'm not crazy.
You
don't want
Facebook,
a crazy person.
You're on MySpace.
Yeah. A lot of it's just figuring out how to put stuff together. I'm lucky where I'm very mechanically inclined, so I've learned how things work. I learned how things work very quickly. So when something breaks, that's how you can really tell a good tech is not how well he can do the job every day. It's when things are broken.
Solving
how
problems.
quick. Yeah, how quick can you get it fixed?
Or a lot of times, like the second it breaks, before even looking at it, you can usually tell, like as a guitar tech, it's like if all of a sudden I hear something go wonky, I'm like, oh, that's that stupid fucking pedal that gives me trouble every day. Or for you, it might be like that damn 100-foot hose.
Yeah.
Well, I remember at the St. Louis show, I was able to talk to you a couple of times. I talked to you before the show. I talked to you right before Metallica went on, and then we got to hang out a little bit afterwards. And in St. Louis, you guys actually weren't able to do the dancing flame thing because it had been raining all day.
It rained. And this was one of those tours where we just accepted the rain. It rained almost every day, it felt like. Yeah, it was. I think even in Philly when you were there,
it wasn't bad, but it rained a little bit.
I think it rained the day before. There was days where we were still working at 4:00 in the morning and it was snowing and ice and
when
rain.
you went up to Canada, maybe right?
It wasn't even Canada. I think it was MetLife.
Where is that? In New York?
New Jersey?
New Jersey?
Yeah.
I've heard of
Are
New
we
Jersey.
joking, or was it actually in New
That was
Jersey?
actually
No,
New
that's
Jersey.
yeah.
That was a rough show. Boston the next night was a rough show. It's just, but it rained a lot.
In terms of your job, in terms of like getting the pyro off.
Well, and you got to figure if I've got a guy 90 feet in the air and it's raining and it's snowing and it's icing, it's not safe for him to be up there. So I'll bring him down. Hey, let's go warm up. We tried using little Jimmy lift buckets to take the gear up instead of ropes for those days, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. It was a rough tour, but we got it done. Every now and then we'd have issues, like you said, in St. Louis. The those were called flame bars. Those just didn't work. They got wet. We didn't have enough time to dry them out. When you guys were in Detroit as well, we had a flash, a quick pop-up rainstorm. And that's why I wasn't able to come see you guys at Hockey
That's
Town.
right, yeah.
It was we tried to get everything covered up. We ended up getting it dried out just in time for the show. And we were down there with hair dryers trying to get electronics dried out.
I think it would be surprise a lot of our listeners to know that at that level, like, you're solving problems. You're literally putting these things in front of hair dryers in the venue bathrooms, right?
Well, we didn't even have that luxury of that. We actually went and bought blow dryers
that day
and ran extension cords, and we were blow drying electronics, just trying to get them dry enough to work.
Amazing. So let me ask you this: so when you have to make that kind of decision, like, hey, we actually need to go purchase blow dryers. Obviously, Metallica is a very successful band. There's overhead and stuff, but we all have like people above us that have to keep an eye on budgets and stuff. You have that sort of carte blanche to say, we need a runner to go get blow dryers.
Yeah, it
or
was.
There's no pyro tonight.
Pretty much, and that's what we told them. Like, this is the deal. If you want pyro, go to Home Depot, Walmart, wherever they went. Get us at least 2 hair dryers now.
Now, when you have these kind of hiccups, which are in our world, in our sort of normal world of working in the entertainment industry, this happens all the time. You have to solve the problem. Would a conundrum like that even reach the band?
No.
They would never even know that.
I'd imagine the only time it would reach the band is if it was pushing the set time back.
And we would never do that.
Right.
That's one of those things.
You would kill the pyro before it pushes set time back.
Yeah, we're not going to push anything back any further than what we're allowed to.
Sure.
But no one's going to James Hetfield and saying, is it cool if we buy 36,000 hair dryers?
Even then, I'm sure he'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
But, like I said, when you were in St. Louis, it just didn't work. So we let them know maybe minutes beforehand, hey guys, it's not going to work tonight. It's wet. We're sorry. We'll make it up for you tomorrow night.
Do you remember the St. Louis show? I know it's not. This is not a pyro thing, but that was the first night that they had to build that thing for Lars.
Yeah, the little rain deck thing.
And we were all confounded.
Yeah, that was the first time anybody had ever touched it.
Well, we could tell. I mean, we could tell that. Obviously, me sort of being privy a little bit to the behind the scenes stuff. We're in the snake pit, me and my friend Brad, front row, and we're watching build this thing. And we were all just like, what the fuck is this thing? And they were having trouble putting it together.
That was the first time anybody had put any hands on it at all.
It was already a creation, but just hadn't been used yet.
It was something I think they prepared for, but it actually pushed the show back.
A few minutes, yeah.
Nothing crazy.
And I don't think it rained after that.
No.
I think once they built it, it
rained all day until the show.
After that day, that was a mandatory build during build day, or set day. They built
regardless
it,
of weather.
Correct. Yeah, they built it anyways, and then right before doors, they would make that call of, all right, looks clear, take it down, put it away, put it in a truck, or, okay, let's keep it. We might use it. I don't think we actually ever used it, though. But it was a good thing to have. I mean, you can't let that kind of a drum set get wet.
For sure.
Well, not only the drum set, you got expensive ass microphones on that thing, cabling, all that stuff.
Lights and stuff.
Yeah.
So assuming nothing goes wrong, we talked about the build process. There's the 3 builds happening in advance. Let's say it's just a normal day. There's no rain. There's no bullshit. Walk us through kind of briefly, when you wake up, what's your day like?
So we'll wake up, we'll come in. First thing we do is go to catering, because
what time is breakfast?
Breakfast 9, sometimes 10, depending on what time we get to the arena. Depending on what city we're in, will depend on time zones, what time sunrise actually is. We try to get there pretty close to sunrise.
So we'll have a day sheet for every different day.
Yeah, we'd get an email the night before saying, hey, your call time is 9 a.m.
Right.
So we get there 9 o'clock or so, have breakfast, we dump a truck. And then, like I said, we kind of have 3 separate crews of people. We had the downstairs crew, the upstairs crew, and then a pyro crew. So we'd get all this stuff pushed to the room. He'd start building the pyro stuff. The downstairs guys would start building their stuff, and then me and my guy would kind of get everything separated. We'd start our day. We'd try to get as much done as we could by lunch, come down and eat. And as soon as lunch was over, we're right back at it. There's days where 5 o'clock, we're back at the hotel having a drink. There's days 5 o'clock in the morning, we're just now getting done. So a day could be 12 hours, a day could be 20 hours.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about on the podcast before. I've worked for Kings Leon for a while, and yeah, there's just certain things that you just can't anticipate, and then it might turn your day into a 20-hour day or whatever. Yeah. Whether that be weather or that be malfunctioning equipment or something.
And we would pick up on that. If something didn't work, say Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, that's the first thing we're diagnosing.
Sure. Yeah.
Why didn't this work last night? Let's take it apart. Let's rebuild it. See if it's just maybe wet. We'll test fire it. If everything goes well, everybody gets to have a drink at the end of the night.
It sounds like you guys should have built a bunch of what Lars had over his drum kit, but little tiny versions of it.
We did. Certain things were built to get wet. Certain things obviously can't, electronics. And we would use Visqueen, which is, for the normal person, a tarp.
It's a real thick plastic.
Yeah, plastic. We would cover certain things. We had, steel covers for certain things so they wouldn't get wet in certain areas. A lot of our equipment has actually been waterproofed because of working outdoors, working in the rain. Companies have kind of caught up with us of, we have to be able to let it get wet and still function and still be safe.
Sure.
When you say you've tested it, you test fire it or whatever, are you doing that at the venue? You're just sort of allotting some space to sort of, are you testing it on the deck or?
So yeah, we would test things on the deck, and we would be given, maybe 30 minutes at the end of our build day of, okay, we can test the deck, and the stuff up in the air, we always have that, authority. We can tell, maybe the video guy or the lighting guy that's up top, hey guys, stay away from, the pyro areas. We're going to test fire something. And then same thing right before doors. We would get probably 30 minutes of testing it one more time, making sure everything's talking correctly, making sure, we don't have any valves sticking. All of our propane levels are where they should be for whatever reason. If maybe they dropped overnight, if we had a leak, we have to get that fixed before the show.
Well, let's say everything's working as it should. Okay, normal load-in day, you get through lunch and all this. Where does your work kind of stop? Are you going to break? And I mean, are you on hand for the show? I mean,
yeah.
So walk us through. You get a break, right? From 5 o'clock, you said sometimes you're in a hotel drinking. When are you back on hand? You've prepped everything. You've test fired everything.
He's talking about, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. So for a load-in day,
you're not drinking on a show day.
No. If we get done early enough on a load-in day, and we get to get back to the hotel, and we, maybe I'll go to
clean up.
Go take a shower because we definitely need it. Yeah. Summer tour. I think it was Miami where it was 110 degrees, 100% humidity, and it rained. And it was just a sticky, wet,
super humid. Yeah.
And we finally get back to the hotel. Everybody took a shower. We all met downstairs. It was a good day for us. We were actually able to get everything done early enough. We got to go have a vodka.
Because whereas like riggers are able to do their work all day, and then they kind of can just during the show they're pieced out.
Oh yeah.
And then they have to break it all down, of course. But you have to work all day, setup day, and then you're on hand because you're actually firing shit.
Yeah.
I remember you took a picture of me and Brad. I didn't even see it. You were under the snake pit.
Yeah, I was under the deck, and I was able to see you through our little white mesh. And, during the show, everybody's paying attention. Everything's fired from one position. We actually have a shooter, and that's his job. He listens to the song. He knows his cues.
So what would an example be, like a song moment?
For fuel.
Okay.
And he's got
which, by the way, I just have to say, without kissing your ass, one of the highlights of the stadium tour was the Pyro in Fuel.
Oh yeah. That's one of my favorite songs.
Well, you have to have Pyro
too.
on a song called Fuel also.
One of his favorite songs. You hear that?
Yeah, I did.
We got a reload lover over here.
We'll go through my top 5 here in a minute, which I think 3 of my top 5. I have a top 5.
So you're directing the show now. Okay.
Funny thing, your guy that said he had his overrated episode songs. I think 3 of my songs were on his overrated list.
I know. I was going to say I didn't agree with any of his overrated songs. Think That Should Not Be, Sabbath True, Fuel. Yikes! Those are my favorites. Okay.
But yeah, Fuel's one of my favorites. Not only for the pyro, but it's a good song.
Well, actually, so the set list was mostly the same, right, for the North American tour. There were a few rotating slots, Fuel being one of them. Let's go through kind of the set. What were your big moments? So you're on hand for the show. The show's happening. They're coming out with Hardwired.
So yeah, Hardwired. We didn't have anything for Hardwired
The balloons happened, right?
The balloons went up for Hardwired and then down for Atlas Rise.
Right.
So we didn't control the balloons, but they did pop, and we gave that pop sensation behind it.
You made that sound.
Yeah, and they're called FEDs, I believe, is what we called them. Federal
Federal European dichotomies.
Yeah,
I believe
dichotomies.
Those weren't like I know a couple pyro terms. Concussion blasts.
Yeah, not quite concussion. They did have a little bit of a pop to them, which gives that same sound of a concussion.
Yeah.
But to give it that pop sound, if a balloon pops, it pops. I don't know how that's going to sound in here.
That sounded pretty good to me.
That sounded great, yeah.
Make a record in here.
I thought I was at a Metallica show for a second. I thought I was about to play Atlas Rise.
So you had to time it with those balloons. You had to time this pop sound.
And everybody talks to each other. It's, the band knows when it's going to happen. The balloon guys that have to hit the button to make the balloon go
Pennywise
away.
the clown is there.
Yeah.
I love that there's a dude on the tour that's
balloon
the
guy.
balloon guy. Yeah.
I think we had 4.
He's in catering and making balloon animals too. He's like, I do it all, guys. I do the balloons.
I'm a balloon guy through and through. I'll do lots of balloons.
It's up there for hardwire, then it deflates out.
I made a balloon one time. Yeah.
I made you a bicycle. I eat your lunch.
The balloon guys were actually the same guys that did the M and the A.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which those were bitching too. I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent.
No.
But when I saw photos of that before we went to any show, I thought they were like
they're balloons.
Yeah, they're inflatable.
They're just really
I thought
balloons.
they were like plastic or aluminum or something, but they're inflatable. And you were telling us in Detroit that they actually suck down into what did you call it?
Just a really big trunk.
A trunk.
Road case, same thing.
Did you call it something else?
I think you called it something else.
What did I call it?
What did the balloon guy call it?
Oh,
no, but you
man.
you called it something that kind of confounded me at the time. I mean, it wasn't like a huge mystery, but I was like, oh, that's called that. Cool.
Well, they had we name our cases.
By the way, have you
maybe that's what it was.
Have you heard the story about how we tried to get in the snake pit at Detroit?
Yeah.
It
I was like,
so
everyone be cool.
embarrassing.
Everyone be cool. And they're like, oh no, you don't belong here.
The sad face as you
Well,
walk back. The fake
The
phone
walk
call.
of shame. The fake phone call. I
Clint's
took the
fake phone call.
I
Yeah.
took a fake phone
I
call.
just kind of like looked straight ahead and kept walking. Yeah, it was kind of up in the air at the Detroit show. It was like, you might be able to get in the snake pit. You might as well try. Sure, okay.
Just look like you belong
Let's
there.
go try. And the first dude before you got to the actual snake pit was like,
he greenlit us, and I was like, oh motherfucker, we're in. This
we're in
fucking
the snake
works.
pit, yeah.
No, this works. The other guy's like, oh no.
Matt and Jason hooked it up.
But so those were balloons. So the balloon guy does the hardwire balloons with the hardwire cover on it. Then he did the M and the A.
Yeah, I think that was three or four guys, and that was all they did.
Okay.
They came in the morning. They put the M and the A up. They'd climb up top. They'd put the balloon inside the little sucker mechanism to blow it up and then suck it back in.
and then they go back to the hotel.
Now,
and sleep.
one of the shows I saw, whether it was St. Louis or Detroit, one of the balloons actually blew up, where it looked like something went wrong.
They did have a couple issues
Because they're supposed to just deflate and then you keep the balloon.
So
but
they
I
were
think
actually
one-
Velcroed. I think 4 separate pieces, and they kind of Velcro together to make a little sphere.
Okay.
The pop was actually a string that rips the Velcro, and then it sucks back into the tube.
Wow.
I never really paid a lot of attention. That's what it looked like from when I saw it being worked on and played with.
It's more of a balloon guy issue.
Yeah, that's a balloon guy
So
thing.
what's the first big pyro moment from that set list, from that tour?
So I'd have to look at a set list, which you guys
we got
have
them
all of
right
my
here.
set
Yeah,
list.
you can look at them.
But yeah, Atlas was our first hit of the night. I'm pretty sure towards Fuel, which was a rotating slot with.
Well, so we have Hardwired, Atlas, Bells.
I don't think we had anything for Bells, unless
So
I have it underlined.
So then this particular... So Matt gave us all these set lists from the tour.
Amazing.
The one I just picked up has Memory, but Fuel. So Fuel would be the first moment.
Yeah, and that's just a big flame moment for us. So we have 8 of those. 6 of them are up in the truss. We'd put 2 out in the seat areas, and I think
they're kind of warm.
they're a little warm.
God, when those things went off, and we stood up at front of house right by Big Mick,
Blazing.
and even back there, it was like, my God, those are fucking hot.
Yeah, at that point, you guys are probably like 200 feet away.
Yeah.
I'm not a math guy, but I know there's
join
angles
the club.
and
That sounds
stuff.
right, yeah.
Call it 200 feet. It's still really warm. There's been times where I was on the complete opposite end of the stadium during tests just to feel it, and it's an actual heat rush.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of the listeners have been to the show. They know that heat.
Oh, yeah.
That rush of heat, and
I felt it in the snake pit. I felt it in the snake pit and in Detroit.
Everywhere. I mean, it's insane.
I love that feeling, and you guys, talking to you guys afterwards and listening to the podcast, you guys talking about it. That's what makes me love my job.
Yeah,
is knowing that you guys could feel that heat.
It was literally like Metallica's one of the biggest bands in the world. We all have these lifelong connections to their songs and stuff. The feeling of that heat was one of the biggest takeaways of the whole show.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Right?
It almost makes it like an interactive show.
Yeah.
You see the flames and you feel the heat. And
it kind
gives you like a rush.
It kind of felt dangerous. Like, to be honest, it was like, oh shit, should I be feeling this that hot?
Yeah. Did the balloon guy fuck up?
So fuel's the big moment. Then on a typical show, be Unforgiven. Not anything there.
I don't think we did anything there.
Now That We're Dead, big drum moment.
Yeah, that was the drum thing. We didn't play with that any.
Then we get Moth, which is the dancing flame.
Moth was the dancing thing.
So tell us about the dancing flame. What makes it dance, and what does it take to make that, and all that shit?
So let me go through my notes. You guys were laughing about
By the
my
way,
notes a second ago.
One of our best guests ever came super prepared with notes.
With notes, yeah.
So
on his iPad.
He came with gifts and notes.
Yeah.
The iPad that I actually left a review on iTunes, which if you go do that, you could win a $25 gift card.
Look at this guy.
I think I'm just going to head home.
Me too.
I think Matt's got it.
I think me and Clint should head home, and Matt can just keep doing this episode. Just clean up after yourself when you're done.
Just
I'm going to mop up when I'm done. So we used 16 units. Each unit had 6 heads, which the math is 96, I think. So 96 individual propane heads that in certain sequences gave it that, waving, dancing look. Those were actually really simple. They also do a bar. That's why we call them flame bars. So that's you get the big wall pop, or you can get the kind of the small dancing flame.
So it's one long thing.
They're all end to end to end to end.
Because when it's going back and forth, it almost looks like it's some kind of units on a track or something. But then when it does the rise and fall.
And they're all little fire bumps.
Off,
yeah, we call those bumps when they're all the rise and falls bump, bump, bump.
Yeah.
And are they programmed?
It's all one big program.
Okay.
And my shooter, all he would do at the top of that song was hit the button. Everything's time coded, which you guys can probably explain time code better than I could. But
is it all to a click or something?
Kind of.
It's on a grid.
It's close. Yeah, it's not to a click track, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So everything's time coded. So unit 1 head 1 goes, unit 1 head 2 goes, and that gives it that kind of waving back and forth. And then the all fires is just that. It's an all fire. All 96 heads are bump, bump, bump.
That's cool.
Wow.
That's so awesome.
So, okay, let's talk this before we continue going down the set list, because I think that's an interesting way to sort of talk about it. But when we're talking, we talked about this a little bit in Detroit, when we're talking propane, what it takes to do all that, you guys aren't traveling with the propane. It's getting dropped, right?
Yeah, so every city we get to, we have a rider, which, again, you guys could explain riders a little better than me.
The green M&Ms, football helmet full of cottage cheese, Jack Daniels, and 17,000 gallons of propane.
Yes.
So that's
pretty close, yeah. So I... on the stuff up in the air, we used about 800 gallons. The stuff underneath was about 100 gallons.
For one show?
For one show.
800 gallons for the stuff up top. Upstairs.
Upstairs, yeah. So we were
the terms
using
now.
You're
roughly
inside,
about 900 gallons per show.
Wow.
God
of
damn.
liquid, pure propane.
Crazy.
So
and
you can't travel that. So it's
we
gotta
don't
be,
travel.
And you said it was airdropped, or it was just...
So every city that we go to, beforehand, we make a phone call and we tell, Air Gas or whatever local propane company, hey, we need 8 100-pounders, we need 5 20-pounders.
And that's just whoever advances Metallica shows. They're advancing it before the tour probably even starts.
You call
that's something that's
call
been
Hank
done.
Hill from King of the Hill. Well,
I got my propane.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Paw vibe. Well, I'll tell you what now, what you're going to need here on the North American Stadium Worldwired tours. Upstairs, you're going to need about 800 gallons of propane. And downstairs, you're going to need about 800 gallons of propane. And
well, I'll tell you what, man. The propane, man. You put it upstairs, man.
What you do is then you take a big lighter that you get at the 7-Eleven, see, and you set it on fire and try not to blow all your hands off, see?
All your hands.
So good God, I mean, are you privy to what that costs? I mean, what's the overhead on? Just
when I go to Walmart and swap out a 20-pounder, I think it's $20.
Right.
So times that by 900-ish.
Again, the math podcast.
Yeah.
Metallica.
I think I have a calculator on my phone.
So it's expensive.
It's expensive,
Just to do this one thing. Is there any left?
It's at least $100. I'll tell you that.
Okay, good. We saw crack the code. Is there ever any left over? Do you really use it all?
Oh, we drain it.
You kind of got it.
That last, I think whatever the last song is. Let me. It's
Sandman?
whatever that. Well, it's whatever the rotating first encore slot.
Oh, the
so
thrash
it's like
slot.
Blackened, Battery,
Five Fire.
Seek and Destroy. Yeah, Five Fire with Fire.
Yeah.
We would just drain it at that point.
During
Whatever's
the song,
left
just
during
like,
the song.
going
That
crazy.
last hit was just a hold until it quits going. And
Wow. So even if the boys end the song, is it still going sometimes, or
a little bit? Yeah, we'd try to give it a little flicker, maybe a couple bumps just to give it a little texture, but we would use every bit of propane. And then we get to the next city. There's another 900 gallons sitting there waiting for us.
Wow.
And we use a local. He roll it in for us. We hook it up and use it all over again.
Was there ever a moment at any show where you got to the venue, saw the pile of propane, and there's just something like maybe the company was just not as good or something, and you walk over there and you start trying to roll things around and you start to attach the hoses and you're like, wait, this fucking sucks, or these tanks are old and
so certain cities have certain regulations. A lot of the indoor stadiums that we played, you can't have more than a certain amount of poundage inside the arena at a certain time. So instead of the 100-pounders that I would use for the stuff upstairs, I would use 20-pounders.
Okay.
So I'd bring in a 20-pounder. I'd fill like an accumulator tank that would hold that 20 pounds. Then I'd go get another 20-pounder, fill it, go get another 20-pounder, fill it until I've got my 100 pounds.
So that almost would require more work on your part if there's harsher regulations in a venue.
Yeah.
When it comes to that kind of red tape, depending on the venue, how does that play out? Like, who's in charge of sort of, okay, we're playing this venue, they have this sort of like red tape about how many poundage.
That's something that we have somebody at our company that's her job, and she's very good at her job. She knows every city, every arena or stadium, whatever we're going to play. She knows the fire marshal, because that's another thing we deal with, a fire department in every city.
Anytime there's any show there's pyro, when Matt was talking about doing like, tests and stuff during the day on a load-in day or whatever, like the fire marshal has to come there and approve it and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
we always have a fire marshal on hand. He comes in and we'll show him, this is what a big gun looks like, and we'd hit it for him. And then we'd step back, this is what a fire screen looks like. We'd shoot it for him. This is what a mine looks like. We'd shoot it for him.
You ever run into any trouble with these people?
For the most part, no. Every now and then you kind of get one that's,
Maverick.
Yeah, well, you've got the one that's...
I don't know about that one now.
We do always have, the new guy.
We run a tight ship over here, see?
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
Now that looks a little too big.
Well, and their biggest thing is distance from people. Because we have to be a certain amount of footage from the nearest person. We don't count the band or the crew. They're to the fire marshal. They're not
them,
people.
yeah.
They signed up for it. They know what they're in
on the
for.
death march anyway.
Yeah.
James has been burned once. He's like, fucking bring it on. I've survived this already.
Well, if you notice, anytime we do anything on the actual deck, he's nowhere near the main stage.
yeah.
Well, okay,
He's
so
all the way
pointed that
down.
out.
So I wanted to get a few patrons did ask this. Obviously, if you know anything about Metallica, if you're listening to the show, you know that our homie, our main man, Mr. Jimmy James Hetfield, Senior, Junior, Esquire, was burned in Montreal during Faded Black, missed Pyro Q. Now, it seems all these years later, obviously, especially on the arena tours, they still have a shit ton of pyro on the deck. Now, what's the prep like? Did you do production rehearsals? They obviously know where all this shit's firing.
Yeah, he's very, very aware of where everything is. And that's something when we were in Baltimore for the first show, we did a full walkthrough the night before, a dress rehearsal. And we talked to him, this is this song, this is what it's going to look like. And we stood back and we kind of, here's where you should be. Where are you comfortable being for this part of this show?
And you tailor it to that, maybe?
Yeah, and and if he says, well, let's kind of tone it down so I can be at this point at this this time. He's very, very good about knowing where he should be.
Yeah.
And
What about the other guys? Is he more so because of his trauma with fire?
more so, yeah. We obviously tailor to him.
Right.
We're going to tailor to the entire band. everybody knows where they need to be at a certain time. But that's also what my shooter's job is.
Lars has no choice. He has
Yeah.
to sit down in the same spot. So.
And
Don't put the
far
fire
enough.
here, guys.
There was nights where if we maybe had a headwind for moth, we would cut out a certain amount of, I think it was 4 units that were right in front of him, because as we were doing our wave back and forth, that wind would hit the flames and bring them right into his face.
Oh, that's not good.
Part of my job during the show was I actually was stage left. So if you guys are in the crowd, I was on the right-hand side.
Kirk's side.
Kind of looking at him and making sure he's okay for that entire little portion.
For moth.
For moth. And I remember actually getting looked at of, it's hot. And that was, okay, for tomorrow, we'll remember that if we have any sort of a headwind, we pre-program. We would have 2 programs. We would have a normal night or a headwind night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So depending on the weather, if we had wind hitting him in the face, we would cut out those 4 heads and we would give him a heads up. Hey, you're not going to see those 4 heads tonight. We're not going to get you warm.
And that's a really great example of stuff that I don't think most people know that goes into outdoor shows. It's very dicey. The weather can change everything, even with Big Mick.
Oh, yeah.
If it's very humid or dense, he's having to mix it completely differently because it's going through humidity.
Or even if it's even if it's a windy night in a stadium,
Windy with pyro.
I mean, wind with audio. It's like you can sit there
Yeah,
and watch a show,
totally.
and you can hear the sound shift because of the wind. There's a lot of factors that go into an outdoor show, and maybe people listening right now who have been to these shows on the last Metallica tour don't quite realize what all goes into it, which is obviously why we're talking to you. But there's a lot of variables in an outdoor show, whether it's a festival or a stadium or an amphitheater or something.
And we're going to get to a lot of some of the patron questions. Let's keep going down the set list. So the moth thing was a huge, amazing thing in the show.
Yeah.
And of course, on the arena tour now, they're doing these goddamn drones.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They don't light on fire, so I don't know.
If they're not on fire, he doesn't
they're
know.
not flaming drones.
I
Okay.
would love to get a chance to light a few drones on fire. So maybe when they come back to the States.
One show exclusive.
Just once. The
One
very
show
last
only.
one. This is going to be our finale. We're going to light the drones on fire.
James will be out of the arena by then.
Yeah.
So another huge moment. I mean, when Ethan went to the Pittsburgh show, the Philly show, excuse me, before I was able to see my first Worldwired show, and he told me personally that the song One has,
Oh my
it's a
gosh.
big moment, right?
Well, they've always done a good amount of pyro at the beginning of that song because, of course,
They play the
war
tape
sample,
and it's
yeah.
war, but the feedback on that tour was like, holy shit, the One moment is crazy.
Oh, dude, it was
can we
amazing.
just camp out there for a second?
Oh, yeah. So obviously it was the flame stuff underneath the deck. We also had some kind of sort of FEDs, same thing that we use for Atlas, that just kind of gave that pop. We teamed up with the laser crew. So as the laser shot down at a certain point, that's the one that shot off. So
Yeah.
it looked like as I think it was supposed to be a plane or a helicopter, as it was flying over, shooting down, that's what you saw was the pop-ups of a shot. We used the stuff up top, the big guns, and we also used 300-foot comets. And just watching those go up and lighting up the entire stadium with comets. Just I think it was red at the time. Red comets lighting up an entire stadium of people and everybody's heads, up watching that.
That was amazing.
It was a very, very cool piece.
Yeah. Was that like maybe a moment in the show that you sort of relished a little bit? Like
It was, and after 20-something shows, you kind of the timing of it, so you're able to kind of turn your head at the right time and watch them as they're going up. But that was another thing that with those big guns, when we hit them real hard at the end for that final explosion, that's another one of those at Fuel. You get that big heat blast that the entire arena or the entire stadium's able to feel at one time.
one of my favorite moments of the whole
hands
tour.
down, for sure. But that one intro, so like you said, you pointed out that the second the laser comes down and like hits the deck and there's an explosion, like the timing of all that was so perfect and precise.
Yeah, our designer, our shooter, and then the designer and the shooter from the laser team, which is another company, they spent a lot of time just back and forth of, okay, this laser's going to hit here, then at the exact same time we're going to hit the right piece of pyro. That was a long process. I think it took them about 2 days of programming to get it just right.
Well, so this was another patron thing that they asked. So your company was contracted, right, to do the pyro.
Yeah.
How much I think I asked you this too when we were talking privately in Detroit, but how much did you guys plan out before the tour? Did you guys come up with your own designs? Was the band involved with, we want a dancing flame, we want this to happen during one? Did they give you a lot of freedom? Or
so that was a big Lars thing. Lars has his, he wants his involvement, and he wants his say in everything. The designer and the actual stage designer and the scenic designer, they all get together probably months before the actual shows and talk about, this is what the set's going to look like. What can you do? So then the designer would sit back. He'd probably take a few days and, we have these trusses. I can put flames up here. I have this area. I can put pyro here. I can put flames under the stage. He would send that back to the designers of, what do you guys think? Okay, we'll send it to Lars. Let's see what he thinks. We'll talk through James. See what he thinks.
A lot of back and forth.
It's a lot of back and forth. And I wasn't privy to that information because at the time
you kind of got the final schematic or whatever.
I showed up in Mexico. We did it was the same set with a little bit different gear, but when I showed up in Baltimore, it was, this is what we're gonna do. Let's make it work, guys, and we did.
And it's crazy to think too with a show that big. Not only do you have the Pyro team, there's a designer for that. There's a designer for the video team. There's a designer for the lighting team. And on top of that, all those people all have to work together, and they're all from different companies too.
Oh yeah, I think I can't remember. It's probably 9 or 10 different individual companies with anywhere from 5 people, I think was the smallest crew, to 25 people.
Yeah.
So I want to say we had roughly 100 people of vendors that were on the crew every day, plus the 3 separate crews of steel guys, plus the production side. We have production managers, tour managers, stage managers.
How many people would you say total would be on your average
on a normal day? Probably 125 to 130.
How many buses? How many trucks do you?
So let me check my notes again because I actually wrote this down.
Our studious guest here.
So I'm pretty sure we had 18 trucks for the actual show.
18 semi
trucks, and that was the backline. That was audio, lighting, video.
Were you guys
pyro.
flying your own PA gear?
Yeah, each show we only had one set.
Okay.
So that was in and out every night. Plus they were using these. There were new subs, and you guys probably did a little more research about them than I did, but very low frequency subs to give that one stage rattle.
There was a couple moments where I thought I was going to actually shit myself.
We were by Big Mick in Detroit, and it was heavy on the low end.
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called. I remember reading about them, but there were some very, very low frequency, 5 megahertz, maybe.
That sounds like Back to the Future Part 2.
It's
1.21 gigahertz.
There we go.
1.21.
I can't remember the terminology.
It's a pooping frequency. It'll make you.
They are very, very low.
Brown note.
The brown note.
Well, when I was at the Philly show, I remember who was this? The King's front of house guy. Him and I were standing there watching the show, and we were in a very bass heavy area. We were right to the left of Big Mick's
and then
tent.
you kind of moved just a little bit away, and it cleared up.
I saw him kind of walking around because he's an audio guy, and he's walking around kind of listening. He comes over, he goes, "Hey man, come here, check this out." And we walk over maybe 20 feet, and he goes, "See how much less bass there is right here?" And so we kept moving around to find the perfect sweet spot. It's such an audio guy thing to do, but yeah, we found this sweet spot wasn't too much bass; it was just enough. No soiling that night. It was great.
Well, no soiling that you know of.
That I know of, yeah.
Many of us were wearing diapers.
I haven't showered since then.
So, how many buses do you think?
I think we were about 10 buses with 10 to 11 per bus.
Okay.
And then, of course, there were certain people that didn't ride buses that, they were on the plane going straight to the next city. But there's quite a few of us. Plus the local crew every day. I think we were, I want to say we were 50 local crew every day. So every city that we go to, there's probably a union.
I was going to say, was it a union?
A lot of places were union.
So for those of you who don't know, union crew, it's very intense. They have very regimented goals, positions. My first experience of that was playing Radio City Music Hall, and there was what's called
New York.
There was what's called a dark stage. And that's when the union crew they're taking a break or whatever, and you can't even adjust your mic stand.
You can walk on stage, and that's about it.
Well,
maybe
I was moving my monitor wedge, and a dude literally ran out. I was like, "Dude, do not touch that." And I was like, "No," I was like, "No, it's cool. I'm the lead guitar player. I'm fine." He was like, "I don't care who you are. It's a dark stage.
Yeah.
Don't touch that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nassau, we ran into that, and maybe in Boston, I can't remember now. Like, this was all months ago, so my memory's a little fuzzy. But there are certain places that you just the union is in charge.
Let's talk grand finale, Sandman, the big fireworks, right? How much was that part of your stuff too?
I would help a little bit. There's a lot of days where I would get done early enough to go help our pyro guy set the boards up. So we had 16 boards. I think each board had anywhere from 12 to 30 pieces of product on each board that was completely upstage, which if you guys are standing at, outside
further away,
as far away from us, people as we could. Then we also had 2 boards up in the air and 2 boards out in the wings, all the way off stage left and right with those flame units. So certain ones were, certain angles. A lot of it was just straight up, but yeah, I think it was Sandman. The finale every night was a very big, very pyro heavy cue.
Oh yeah, it was great.
And that was kind of our finale of let's just give it all we got and hit the button and everything goes at once.
Yeah, it's like one magic huge red button. You have to lift up a little plastic.
That little plastic
thing over
and
it.
you mash the button down.
Everything goes off.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we can't take any of this pyro with us tonight, so let's just light it all off.
Yeah, we always shot our wad at the end of the night.
Well, that's the goal of it. I mean, that was probably the instruction.
Well, that was very similar to like the when Guns N' Roses played in Nashville, or their whole stadium tour, really. But during Paradise City, it's like the last 2 minutes of the song is just like it looks like a finale on the 4th of July.
Yeah, and that's what ours essentially was a finale. I think it was a minute 50, something like that, of just straight shooting,
Which is a long time when you're lighting pyro off.
Oh yeah,
Or setting pyro off, sorry.
setting, lighting, same thing.
I mean, when I say lighting, I imagine some dude is up there with like a lighter going.
Oh yeah, we're
Sorry,
sponsored
get out
by
of the way.
Bic, so everything's done Bic's way.
Bic should make boards.
Bic boards.
Bic boards.
So what's the end? So show's over, big Sandman finale. They all say bye. They split. The unglamorous part of the breakdown. What's your teardown? When do you get back in your bunk playing Xbox?
So show goes down anywhere from 10:45 to 11. Our first thing is to get all the boards put away, because a lot of times we're in a walkway or maybe an exit path. So we send a couple of local hands up to help a guy. We get all the boards down. I have myself, my climber, and roughly 4 local climbers. We give everybody ropes, send everybody
and are you
up.
delegating? Or are you kind of saying, hey, this is what you need you to do?
Yeah. And we kind of pull everybody together right before the end of the night and give them a little heads up. You guys were probably with us on the in. We're going to do the exact same thing, just backwards.
And is there a whole semi dedicated to Pyro World?
Pyro had 1 full semi, plus we had some spares on another semi, just backup pieces of equipment. But we filled a semi and then some.
Wow.
There's a lot of gear.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. But
So how long would that take? Like, what, at a given average day where nothing's going wrong, when are you sort of back on the bus having your first cocktail to celebrate?
probably 4:30, maybe 5 a.m.
Jeez.
Holy shit.
That's
And
a
then
long loadout. Well, I
9
mean, the setup is gargantuan.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
you figure we're given an entire day to load in, and then 3 hours, 5 hours to load out, and
But then your call time in the morning is what, 9?
9 a.m.
but on tour like that, it's such a big operation.
You
never
got a
doing,
day off, yeah.
You're never doing 2 shows in a row.
No, it was load in, show, load in, show, load in, show, day off. Load in,
Okay.
show, load in, show, load in, show, day off. Roughly.
So
We were
really,
doing-
you were working 4 days straight and then a day off.
6 days.
Or 6 days, sorry.
Yeah, we would do. It was pretty much yeah. It was Tuesday to Sunday. We did shows Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday most
Right.
of the times, and then our day off was Monday. That was our laundry day, our sleep day, catch up on rest.
Porn
FaceTime,
day.
Xbox with the
Xbox
little
day.
quotation marks.
Hand quotes.
So there's still more to learn. I mean, I'm super fascinated just sitting here, and I've already heard a lot of this from you. We're going to open it up to the patron Q&A. So one of the things we do on Patreon, one of the exclusives that our patrons get is when we have a guest like this, amazing insight into the Metallica inside universe, we let them sort of ask us some stuff. So I'm going to do that right now, if that's
do.
cool with everyone. And some of this we've already addressed, so I'll try to just go through it. We got a shitload of these questions. So Jason Berry asks, what level of contact, if any, did you have directly with the band? For instance, I've heard Ethan's stories about working on the crew, and often he actually formed friendships with the bands. Is it the same on any level with a band like Metallica? Did they know Matt by name and say, "What's up?" from time to time? Or are they removed from that level of intimacy with the crew? Good question.
I would never say they were removed. We would see each other in passing and kind of a slight wave. Those guys are very busy. Right. They've got a lot going on. They've got meet and greets. They've got tuning room. They're not actually on site for the entire day. But at that very beginning of the tour, it's a lot of, hey guys, kind of try to remember my face. If something goes wrong, you can always come see me. I tried to not get that level just because I try to kind of separate myself from that part of it, mainly because I am a big fan. I love Metallica. I've been a fan since I was younger.
And so there's also almost more pressure on you as a fan to for you to maintain a professional attitude.
You got to keep your cool. I mean,
because we've all done this. We were, we can talk about what you're doing now and stuff. We work for artists that was like, oh, take it or leave it, it's cool, whatever. But if you're a huge fan of something, you've got to maybe do more checks on yourself than someone otherwise.
You can't just walk into it going, okay, I'm doing Pyro for Metallica, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to meet the band and get photos with them.
Dude, what was it like when you wrote Battery?
I wish I could have done Pyro on the Justice Tour. Like, you can't do that stuff, obviously.
Yeah. So I did 3 years of WWE, the wrestling show, before Metallica. And there was a lot of, I guess you could say, celebrity guest appearances.
Oh, yeah, I was there a few times, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I was really hard to not get a picture with you.
But so you're a big fan of that, too?
I was never a huge fan growing up. I remember watching it, but it wasn't something that was, every Monday was, Raw or War or whatever it was at the time of me growing up. Raw is War. Yeah. But I did Metallica for,
amazing.
WWE.
Amazing quip.
WWE was, 3 years of, it was a revolving door of celebrities coming in every week. So right. I've kind of...
A lot of cameos and shit.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little... jaded maybe is the word of it doesn't do anything for me.
I would say I am too. Yeah, I mean,
but then you work for Metallica.
I know, and that was a hard one to.
But I appreciate
keep
that.
your cool.
But it's almost like being a fan too. It almost reinforces your professionalism. Where you're like,
sure, yeah.
If your job's to make that Pyro kick ass and keep them safe, it's like I don't care about fucking with you in that level. I just want to do my job well.
Our number one thing is always safety.
Of course,
it's do it safe, but do it fucking quick too.
Right. And sign my Metallica van, my new Metallica vans. Okay, our next question. I think we kind of did answer this. John Cartmill says, what precautions are taken for the band member safety? They obviously know where to be when the action is about to happen. So we kind of addressed that. I don't know if there's anything else to say about that. You guys did sort of.
We always do walkthroughs. Yeah, and if something's different for whatever reason, like the nights in St. Louis where we didn't have the flame bars.
So they know that's not going to happen.
We talked to them beforehand and said, look, we had some technical issues. We're sorry. We'll make it a little bit bigger tomorrow night.
And they say, you fired? Yeah. No, just kidding.
James goes, ooh, yeah, no flames.
A really good friend of the show, Chris Urgis,
yeah.
He's got a few questions. He says, who are the top 3 or 5 artists that have the biggest Pyro productions that you've ever worked on, and how do they differ from each other?
Ooh.
So you got WWE. And
I've done WrestleManias.
Those are huge.
Those are 2 weeks of load-in.
Wow.
Of pure load-in.
Yeah, our mutual friend Wes, who now currently used to work with Kings of Leon with me, now works for Metallica, has told me numerous stories about working those events.
Yeah. Manias are we call it Hell Month. It's 2 weeks of prep to 2 weeks of load in while also doing 2 live shows a week.
So more intense than Metallica.
A little bit, yeah, because it ends up being like 30 straight days of work.
Wow.
And
for one show.
For one 3-hour show.
Yeah.
And that's what always kind of got me. My very first paid gig was actually a WrestleMania. We were in New Jersey.
Where's that, Ethan?
Just outside of New Jersey.
It's just east of New Jersey.
Pretty sure it's in Poland.
New Jersey.
Poland, New Jersey.
The joke that will not die because we won't let it.
Never will.
So anything you're doing? So Matt's currently doing Taylor Swift, which several of my buds are playing with Taylor. Yeah. You haven't actually started the production on that yet.
I leave as this episode airs. I will be on a plane headed to go do prep, and that's 39 straight weeks of touring.
So
I
think
it's
about that, folks.
55 shows over 39 weeks.
For those of you who don't like her records or have an idea about her or whatever, she works real hard. 39 weeks is no joke.
Yeah.
Now-
Especially 55 shows.
It's one of the biggest gigs on the planet.
Now, is that something that you're gone for that the amount of time straight, or do you get to? Is there little breaks to come home, or?
I'm lucky. I'm going to get a few breaks here and there. I'll do, maybe 3 weeks and then home for 3 days, maybe a week and a half, then home for 2 days.
But that's pretty much almost a year.
It's 9 months.
Yeah, that's a long tour.
Like I said, I leave Monday, and I think my final show is in. I don't even remember
2024,
something like that. Yeah. But I fly home Thanksgiving night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, goodbye.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Yeah.
This is
I'll
his
see you
last
guys-
night in
thanks for-
Nashville.
See you
being
guys
on the
at your
podcast.
2-year anniversary.
Chris Yurgis also asks, what considerations must be made in the Pyro production design to accommodate different venues and local and state permitting? So what I wanted to tie that into is so you did the Uniondale show, which was an arena.
Yeah.
You did the domed Texas show. What city was that?
We did a handful of indoor shows.
So how did that change shit?
So obviously we can't use propane.
Okay. Well, that's not obvious to me.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I don't know.
okay. So say a building is
Obviously, a gigawatt can't work on the protractor.
Especially upstairs.
If say a dome is about 200-foot ceiling.
What
roughly.
city was that where the dome was?
We had quite a few. We did
Alamo Dome.
There was Alamo Dome. We did the Texas AT&T Stadium. Houston, I think
Okay.
is the NRG Stadium.
Right, that's right.
There was one in Canada, but I can't remember which one.
Toronto
Maybe
The Astrodome.
in Canada.
in Canada.
No, that would have been the Houston
That
Astros,
was
right?
that was the NRG Stadium. I think we did the football field.
I was trying to think of domes that are gone.
Oh, did they blow that one
The
up?
Biodome.
I didn't blow it up, so I don't know about
Yeah,
it.
did you do a show at Biodome?
God, no one just. I thought I was going to say no one got my fucking Biodome joke.
Oh, I did.
We did. I think Phoenix was
when you
another
say,
one.
So when you say obviously no propane, what do you mean? Why can't
We
you
use
propane?
it's mainly that heat going that high. We're not allowed to do that. So we actually will use a liquid flame unit instead. It's a little bit smaller. If you side by side maybe those two shows for fuel, you can tell, fuel in St. Louis was a nice, for me, I call it a big plume, nice big fat bottom.
What are you, a poet?
Sick plume,
We got a
bro.
fucking poet over here.
And they kind of feather up as they go. We would use liquid indoors, which is more of a stream. And you could kind of look, it would look more condensed at the base and then stay condensed all the way to the top.
Is this something that you think your average concert goer would know the difference between?
If you were able to go to two shows, maybe 2 nights in a row,
You would notice the
You would
difference.
notice it.
Yeah.
We try to make it to where there isn't a noticeable difference.
Right.
We want every show to be the same, but also a unique experience for every show.
Sure, yeah.
We have a very simple goal for every show to be the same,
But
and
different.
yet for every show to be different. Okay, moving on. Chris Nace, our friend from Bacon and Nace podcast, check it out. He says, this is an interesting question for you, Matt. What kind of perks do crew members get? Are they fans themselves, which we know you are, or do they feel they need to keep it under wraps and just be professional 24/7? So we know that. All right, so what kind of perks do you get?
I got a T-shirt once.
We were wearing a T-shirt right now.
I'm actually wearing the Vans T-shirt.
Yeah.
I love the Vans T-shirt.
The one that just came out?
It just
Did
came
you get
out.
the shoes?
I didn't get the shoes. They
I'm
don't make
getting
them
the
in my
high tops.
size.
Oh, what size you wear?
15.
All right, for
Me
the
too.
for the Vans officials listening, which we know they are.
Oh, I mean, I think the whole Vans team is listening.
I think
Make a
anyone
15.
I think anyone in a van is listening.
Anyone in the van is definitely listening.
Now, I will say one of the perks I know that you get is you were able to get us working passes for the shows. That
Yeah.
was quite generous.
I got a couple drumsticks thrown at me a few times, which I was able to give to you guys. I've kept a couple for myself that kind of go in my little stash box of memorabilia.
Talk about the record that you got, the Hardwired record.
So as a, I guess, Christmas gift from the band, everybody that was on the crew was given a platinum, the same one that they get, maybe a little bit different. Mine's probably not the same as theirs.
Yours doesn't
but-
have James Hetfield etched into it.
Unfortunately, no. I wish it did.
It just says Matt Thomas.
Yeah, some guy. I don't know who he is.
It says some guy.
Dear Pyro guy.
Flame guy.
Appreciate
Guy
it.
missing thumb.
No, it probably said not balloon guy.
Yeah. The balloon popper. they did give us, a platinum record this year, which was very nice. I was not expecting it. I actually had to go to FedEx to pick it up. I was kind of confused what was in the box, so I opened it.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
Opened the box, was able to pull out a platinum record in front of, I live in Clarksville, which is a small town, and for them to see a platinum record, everybody kind of huddled around.
They immediately mugged you.
Yeah.
They're like, "Are you
I had to fight my way
Metallica?
out.
Is that platinum?
Are you Lars Ulrich? Well, and for those that don't know, which most people listening probably don't know, when it comes to gold and platinum record plaques, the band gets, that maybe the crew gets or whoever, a lot of times bands don't normally get that for their entire crew. Maybe the guys that are really close, like a guitar tech that's been there for 10 years, this and that. But someone like Matt, who's a vendor working for another company.
In my first year with the band.
Right.
That was, to me, that's very nice of those.
It's
Very generous.
Very generous, yeah.
Something that I was not expecting. It was a great Christmas gift. It's going to be a great talking piece, and I'm going to get you guys a good picture of it so you guys can put it on, socials and Facebook and MySpace and everything.
Definitely on MySpace and Friendster.
Let's get on MySpace immediately.
But a lot of times those kind of plaques, like if you worked for a band and they didn't get you one for whatever reason, you can purchase them.
It's like $300 or something.
Yeah, like whatever the price is. But that would be weird though. It's like, hey, I want to get one because I was on that tour, but I have to pay $300 for it.
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't do that. But it's very nice of the boys in Metallica and their organization. Hey, every crew guy that was on this tour this last year, let's get them a plaque.
Yeah.
And by the way, Matt's going to send us some pictures of all this cool stuff. You can also follow him. What is it?
It's at SFX Matt.
Yeah, go follow him.
A few people have actually already followed me from what you guys posted. Whatever today is, Thursday.
I literally don't know.
I had to think about it.
I literally don't know.
You better know. You have to leave.
I have a flight in a couple days.
Yeah.
I have an alarm set, so it's okay.
You're heading out for the Taylor thing in a few days, right?
I leave, Monday morning.
Man, I'm glad this worked out.
Monday, barely.
And we're almost done, by the way. I have a few more Patreon questions.
Let's keep going. We got 2 more hours to go.
Hey.
I'm sorry. We have till Monday.
Oh, wait, we have 3 more days? Jared Neenan, he asked a question about different venues. So we already got that, safety concerns. He says, in terms of the amount of pyro or quote-unquote fuel used, he said, what are the top Metallica tracks? I would suggest 1, Enter Sandman, and Fuel as the obvious top 3.
Yes.
That's right. And
Yeah.
we throw Moth in there.
Moth, we actually don't use a lot because it's a lot of quick bumps.
It's just the dancing.
Well, the dancing
thing.
was just going back and forth the whole song and then the
yeah.
bumps.
But it actually ends up not using that much. It's a very small hose, I guess, that gets the product there.
Kind of like a barbecue,
Well,
maybe.
okay, well, here, let's put it on this way. Between 1, Enter Sandman, and Fuel, or the rotating slot, Memory Remains, or Lightning, or Creeping, what was the biggest one? 1, I would guess? Or Enter Sandman, the big
Sandman
finale?
probably is.
Sandman was the most product. Product is in actual pyro.
As in cocaine, yes.
Yeah.
Got it, yeah. Copy that.
Product.
Yeah.
We used a lot on that. I can't remember what the count was. It was a few hundred pieces, probably 500 or 600 pieces by then. Fuel was a big flame cue. And whatever the rotating one, I think it was... I got to look at my notes again.
You mean the rotating slot?
Yeah. I can't
Fuel,
remember.
Creeping Death, Memory Remains. They did Ride the Lightning. They teased it a little bit.
What was the first... it was the first, what was it? Fight Fire Battery was another heavy one.
Oh, the thrash slot.
Yeah, the thrash slot.
Oh, yeah,
And Blackened, too. The Fire to Begin Whipping Dance
Yeah.
of the Dead. Oh, I remember that in Detroit. I was like, shit. This is
Basically,
good.
the rule of thumb, if you're a pyro guy for Metallica, is anytime the word fire is said, fire has to go off.
The rule of thumb is you can't have your thumb.
Fight with fire.
Because you blew it off when you were a kid, which is why you got this gig.
Right.
Okay.
I lost mine actually in gigging. I've almost lost my thumb. Once.
I believe
I was in
you.
Canada. Well, it was a truck accident. I was loading a truck and part of my thumb's chopped. I'll show you guys pictures. It's pretty gross.
We'll put those on our socials too.
I'd imagine
Follow
that.
You'll lose a few followers for that one.
You almost lost your thumb, but not even from pyro.
Not even from pyro. I was loading a truck and
truck.
and French stop and American stop. I guess are 2 different words. But I spent a night
One
in
is
a
stop, one is le stop.
yeah. I spent a night in a Canadian hospital once.
They probably took care of you. Cause,
No, that was very expensive.
really?
Yeah. If you're not from Canada, their universal health care does not care about you.
Well, if you're in Europe or the UK, they will do whatever they can to help you out. That's awesome.
Well, next time I get hurt, it'll be in the UK.
If you're gonna get hurt in the UK or Europe, and they'll be like, Torben will walk in and be
I'm
like,
hoping I get
"Listen,
hurt
guys,
when I'm in Australia, and I can just stay there for a few weeks and hang out.
New Zealand. I'd say
I'm doing New Zealand as well. I'm excited for that one.
Have you been there?
Not yet.
Dude, New Zealand, I love Australia. I've been there many times. It's a beautiful country. But New Zealand is incredible.
I think I'm there October, November, so it's their spring. So it should be nice.
Oh, dude, it's a beautiful country.
Yeah, as long as it's not raining.
And get some fish and chips.
I don't want to butt in on the new travel agency segment of the podcast.
However, we have one more question.
Actually, we have several.
We
more.
have.
Are we cool on time? What are we looking at?
more.
Are we insane here?
No. We've gone way longer than this.
We still rolling?
Oh yeah. No, I stopped recording a while ago. It hasn't.
No, we just been
I
riffing.
thought we were just talking into microphones for
We've just
nothing.
been riffing.
If that's the case, let's go with another vodka.
Ujwal Pandey, we've already kind of answered this, but I wanted to mention him. He says, I don't think we can talk these numbers, but he says, what was the budget for the Pyro for the stadium tour? Do we even know? We kind of tried to do it.
I don't really know the budget. That was kind of above my pay grade.
The 800 gallons just for the upstairs shit, 800 gallons for the below shit. I mean, that's...
And you figure 6 guys, and it's not even just their daily rate. You figure you've got to pay for hotels, you got to pay for flights.
Right.
There's a lot that goes into...
Per diem, there's a day rate, there's accommodations. They're paying... Dude... I don't even want to say it, but I found out really recently so my humble little gig, we're on 2 buses. I found out what one of those cost to lease.
It's very expensive.
It's much higher than I thought. I don't want to say it on the show, but
my dad's been a coach driver for I think 15 years, and he's told me rough guesses of what it costs for a weekend.
It's at least $100 a day. We'll say that.
we'll just leave it at that.
It's anywhere between 100 and $1 million.
Now, one of my favorite fans of ours, a sweet friend of ours, Nicole Williams, she says, and we've answered this. She's got 3 questions. She says, is James ever apprehensive about the Pyro due to his accident? So we kind of answer that. He's a little more sensitive to it. You guys pay attention to him more.
Yes.
Which I thought that was kind of sweet.
It's so sweet.
I liked that about you guys.
That's why you got a plaque.
Yeah, we were very tender with
James
him.
was like, hey, that dude, that really tall guy with the size 15 shoe, get him a plaque.
Get him a plaque.
She says, she goes on to say, how much practice does the band do prior to the start of the tour to ensure they know where to be or where not to be? So you said that you guys do a walkthrough. That's it? Where they kind of they can maybe sit in the stands and see it?
So we had done a couple rehearsals beforehand, which we, used our phones, taped it, and kind of showed them, this is the song, bump, 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 fire, bump, 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 fire. And then we put them on the deck, kind of run through it again.
Not holding instruments or anything.
Yeah, just looking at it so that way they can physically see.
Are they sort of playing the song on the PA? Like, how are they?
They probably got it in their ears.
Okay, so they're playing like an MP3 or whatever. Okay.
Yeah. And then they would actually, play through and kind of get a good feel of where they needed to be. And we wouldn't shoot it that time. And then we would play it one more time with a full cue. And then when we did a full walkthrough rehearsal, we showed it to them again. So call it maybe six or 7 good times.
That's a lot of prep.
I imagine too on the deck that things marked off like with gaff tape or whatever, where they can see it.
Those guys know. Those guys are smart enough where they know where to be.
Right.
And I mean, everybody that saw the stage, it's huge.
Yeah. There's plenty of space to be away from fire.
Yes.
And explosions.
Plus, all of our stuff the majority of our stuff was way up high in the air. The stuff that upstairs.
Yeah.
The stuff we did have on the deck was very well, it was in grading downstairs.
I'm trying to be a pyro guy. I'm going to get the terms down.
So Danny Santana, a new patron, he sort of asked the same thing. He says, is there a nightly meeting to go over the pyro choreography? So we kind of addressed that. Nicole did have a compliment for you. She says, just a comment, I could live without fuel in the set, but the pyro on the stadium tour made it a highlight every time they performed it.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's awesome.
I wholly agree with that.
And only getting it once a week for me was a treat because that is in my top 5 of just all-time favorite songs.
Okay, I don't want to camp out here yet.
Get into it.
Not yet, because I want to do your top 5. But I'm loving that you're a reload cat. Is that what we're learning? You're a fuel guy.
That's about the time that I kind of came on.
Same. All right. Well, a little bit for that. Black on, but okay. All right. I'm getting excited. Anyone who sits across from me is like, I love Fuel. It's one of my favorites. I'm like, shit. Okay,
if you could see the look on his face, he's turning a little red and getting so excited. To talk
all of
about
our
Reload.
listeners know. They know I love that shit so much. Okay, a few more. And we appreciate you, Matt. All right, Kevin Van Dam.
Damn.
That's all we have to say about that.
Kevin Van Dam's awesome. A long-time listener, loaner of box sets.
He says, what does it take to be a professional pyrotechnician? Actually, we kind of talked about it a little bit, like what you did to get into it. But this question is cool. How would one enter that profession without first knowing someone in the business to mentor them?
if you like to sleep, then you don't want to do this.
No shit, you're going to bed at 5 a.m. and getting up at 9.
Yeah, and that was a normal thing for us. This last tour I did was Trans-Siberian Orchestra, where we were doing anywhere from 8 to 12 shows a week.
Jeez.
So we were doing a lot of matinees where we were, loading out.
It's only 7 days in a week, by the way.
Yeah,
Generally 5,
another
which is
math
crazy,
thing. That was another rough one. We would do 5 straight days in a row, maybe 6, and averaging 3 hours a night of sleep, and maybe catching a 30-minute nap after lunch.
So let's say that for some reason I quit writing songs and making music, and I came to you because we're friends, and I said, "Hey man, I want to get into Pyro. What would your advice to me be? Where should I start?"
So if you really want to start, get in with your a local company. If you have an arena or a stadium nearby.
So if a band like Metallica comes through, you're on a local crew.
You're on a local crew, and that's how a lot of people do start. Is they're working a local crew, and they maybe just prove themselves of. I know how to do this. I've picked
I'll
this
set
up.
my butt on fire.
Yeah.
I'm letting off some Roman candles on 4th of July. I know what I'm doing.
And that's kind of how I started. Was like I said, as a kid, 4th of July was my favorite day, and I was very, very lucky.
It's like a job fair for you.
Pretty much. I was lucky to bring this into a career.
I think I just got a sincere laugh out of Ethan.
Do you
Well,
think you did?
That's kind of caught you off guard, and you were like laughing.
It was followed by a yawn because I've had a long day.
I know.
Are we done
When you
yet?
yawn at me. No, we're having fun.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
I kid.
I kid.
Ryan Interlead asks, what is James's involvement in the planning and execution of the pyrotechnics? Does the band have any involvement in deciding what the pyrotechnics will be, and is it part of the rehearsal? We've touched on a
We
little
kind
bit.
of touched on that with
Yeah.
Lars being super involved.
So
in
Lars
it.
is the guy, right? He's a point man.
He does the majority of it, and James also has his say in things. And again, that's something that's a little bit above my pay grade.
Right.
The way I put it is, that's something that's already been planned out, and it's not just the guys. It's all the designers, the creators, the people that actually program the show.
And then
That's-
also probably management. I mean, there's
There's a lot of chain of command.
highly structured.
for
yeah.
sure, yeah.
Okay, it's a good question though. Benjamin Harp, our friend who put a different Metallica shirt on our Twitter page
Yes.
every day this last month, asks, "What is Matt's mindset working Pyro?" That's one of his questions. Should I read the whole thing?
That's up to Matt. He's
Yeah,
answering the
go ahead.
questions.
What's his mindset working Pyro, especially such heavy-duty stuff? There's definitely a danger factor involved. Is it to be professional, follow the guidelines, and keep it out of your mind? Move into the fear, to quote Phil Tao. Something else? I was at one of the stadium shows last year, and those pyro towers were insane. All in all, it was an amazing display, so a job incredibly well done. So, yeah,
Thank you, number one. But
it's a huge compliment. I mean,
Yeah,
I
for sure.
can't say it enough. The
Oh, it was amazing.
The
yeah.
production value, especially of the pyro at the 2 shows I saw, were fucking phenomenal.
Thank
yeah.
you.
So, all right. So, it's a good question. So, what's going through your mind? It's a super dangerous, super strange job.
Are you
kind of a head down? Just keep your head down, do the work. thing?
Yeah, I like to do my job, and I want to make sure it's done right the first time.
Right.
Yeah, I just like you said, head down. I'm there to work.
Dude, at the St. Louis show, so he came and said hi to Brad and I a few times. Afterwards, when it was all over, we were kind of waiting we were in the snake pit, so we were waiting for it all to just chill out so we could split easily. Ended up taking like 2 hours to get an Uber. But
Yeah.
do you remember when you came back and said hi? The motherfucker was soaking wet. And I was like, dude, were you just like jumping a pool or something?
That first 20 minutes of loadout is just pure chaos.
It was all
Oh
sweat.
yeah, just go, go.
And it's see how much you can get done as quick as you can get done before the next crew is in that same spot. So yeah, when I came and saw you, I was soaked head
I think
to toe.
you like took a glove off or something that was just like literally like a hose, and it was just all sweat.
It's and it was
Unbelievable.
hot. I mean, that's
That
the
was
part of a
was
summer
hot.
tour.
And it got humid because it rained all day and all that.
Yeah, it's
All right, our last question, again from our friend Nicole. Has Matt ever had to regrow his eyebrows?
eyebrows. No, arm hair one time.
Chest hair, 0 times.
What happened with that? Were you just too close to something? Something misfired?
That was a
Too close to the
WWE
flame,
thing,
bro?
Yeah. It was a WWE gimmick that we were doing under the ring. There was a programming mistake. I was lucky. Another guy actually ended up with, I think, 2nd-degree burns on his arm.
Oh wow!
It was an honest mistake of what happened. Everybody went home at the end of the day. That's the important thing.
Sans arm hair.
Is
Yeah.
that why they don't do pyro anymore?
What is it, all LED now?
Yeah, everything's that LED floor they have is expensive.
Yeah. No, they don't do pyro anymore.
Yeah, they quit.
No shit,
Probably
really?
about a year ago.
I'm sure for WrestleMania that they
for
still probably
Mania they do.
like,
I think for some of the big, the big 4,
like some pay-per-view stuff.
some of the pay-per-views they do. I don't really know.
Because it used to be like any Raw or SmackDown. Like when
It was every day.
yeah, when Wes was still working on WWE, me and a friend went down to Bridgestone Arena here in Nashville and watched a show. Excuse me. And before the show started, like we were like 3 rows behind Wes or whatever. He was shooting where he was firing from.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, so what can we expect for pyro for the intro? And he was like, oh, there's 27 concussion blasts.
Yeah.
And then right when the lights go down, then like the music starts, he turns around and like puts his fingers over his ears. I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah.
And that shit is loud.
It's very loud. I think it's like 120 something dB.
I hate concussion
Gigawatts.
blasts.
Oh, they're
I hate
awesome.
them.
They're amazing. They're my
No,
favorite.
I would love to shoot one off.
Yeah.
But when you're at a show and watching the show and not expecting it, and you think a fucking bomb went off. I went and saw years ago, it was My Chemical Romance and Muse. This is at Municipal Auditorium.
Oh, here! Wow, Municipal Auditorium. Crazy.
This is God, probably almost 10 years ago. Middle of the show, just all of a sudden, just like pow, 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 and I was just, I mean, I ducked. I thought something was wrong.
Yeah, you cringe.
I hate them.
So on a show like that on WWE, we actually had warning lights, just little red flashing beacons that we would put backstage for the talent, some of the crew that maybe didn't know what was going on, and we blocked off our concussion area,
Yeah.
so nobody would accidentally walk underneath it. You walk underneath it, you're going to blow an eardrum out.
Oh, yeah.
Easy. And we, hit the warning lights, and some people maybe don't know what a red blinking light means backstage.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Pretty lights.
Walk into
boom,
it.
boom, boom, boom.
Carol Ann, walk into the blinking light, Carol Ann.
Yeah, then the rest of your life you hear.
You've
Nice little
tinnitus
high
for the rest of your
pitch.
life. My last question for you before we get into some fun fan shit, because you're a fan. We want to talk about fan stuff. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you doing your job? Anything stand out? Have you had a pretty safe career?
Other than the thumb, yeah.
Other than
Everything's
the
been
thumb.
pretty safe.
All right.
The arm hair was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
One time, like 6 of my arm hairs burned off in a flame.
Whoa, I can't
And
tell
All
you.
6 of them.
I almost thought about going to the hospital.
All right, let's get into the fun shit. You're off duty officially.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to do. We have some questions we normally ask. I don't know what they are now.
You don't remember them?
What are they?
I'll have to look at my phone.
When'd you come online? All right, yeah, okay. Tell us your sort of genesis story. When'd you come online? What was the first thing you heard?
It was probably around the load reload area.
Area.
It's an
area.
area.
It's an area.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
an area of the 90s.
Yeah.
So, fuel is up there for me. I was never really into metal rock music. My parents were very country music.
Because you're from Tennessee, of course.
Yeah. So I listened to country.
Yeah. That's what I do for a living is play country music for real.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, now.
Well,
Like
I'm
Deliverance,
not
yeah.
like in the movie Deliverance. Fucking dudes I find stranded off the river. No, but yeah, so country. We will not edit that out. No,
definitely
yeah,
not.
I get you. Yeah, country music. So you're a Tennessee cat.
Yeah. I've been here 21 years now.
So was it MTV that sort of brought Reload into your world, the Fuel video?
I don't really remember, honestly. I remember listening to a few songs, getting into it, and this was, before you could go online and YouTube something.
Right.
It was back when music was actually on MTV, which,
Right.
nowadays.
What's that?
Yeah, that doesn't
Oh,
happen
shit.
anymore.
Is that where Teen Mom 3 is?
Yeah, they share a slot.
Team Mom
So
5.
did you get hip to that shit and go back, or did you discover the 80s stuff? And
I tried to kind of listen to a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point, my dad actually restored an old jukebox, and I remember there being some Metallica songs on there, and he switched them out for country songs. So somewhere, my parents just built a new house, so I'm sure it's somewhere in transit between the two houses.
the jukebox?
The jukebox probably has some Metallica songs on it
Oh,
still.
rad.
So That'll be one of those when if I ever come home again, I might try to dig through it, find it.
So you're obviously a load and reload cat, so we don't even know where you stand on that. Where do you stand on Saint Anger? You familiar with that conundrum?
So I actually watched the little making of video, whatever the movie was called.
Some Kind of Monster?
Yeah, that's the one. Before
It's called a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Before I actually sat down and listened to the entire album. So I caught the background of the
You
album.
contextualized it.
Yeah.
Did that soften you on it? You were like, oh, I kind of get it.
There was a few songs that I actually listened to and put in rotation of, maybe a gym song here and there. I know you guys are going to hate me for this. I like Saint Anger. I think it's an okay song. It's not quite a top 10.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Production aside, we've talked about this.
Are we talking about the song?
Yeah, the song.
Oh,
The
yeah.
song, not the album.
Not the
All
whole
right.
record, yeah, just
Okay.
the song. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Frantic, every now and then I'll put it in.
I'm into Frantic.
Yeah.
Dirty Window, we love. We've talked about that.
I'm kind of into My World, too.
I'm starting to think you guys are fans.
I think, the podcast has done this to me. I mean,
It really has, especially when we did the Saint Anger episode. We had to sit down and listen to it for like a week or two straight.
I can honestly say, and some of our listeners may find this amazing, I've turned a little bit of a corner on it. Now, here's the deal. All right. You play that record right after Master of Puppets, it's a dog.
Yeah.
You play it right after any record, it's a dog. Now, but the whole deal of it, though, is you take it on its own terms. Like you said, you listen to it after the doc.
If that's the first one that you listen to, it might be an okay album.
Yeah, you understand
Sure.
what they were going through, all right?
Right.
Okay, you got to take it on its own terms. You don't have to take Lightning on its own terms. You can put that up against anything.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to take Justice on its own terms. It fucking destroys anything you can put up
Yes,
against it.
of course.
Saint Anger is the only record you have to sort of like put it in its place of
You also have to,
time,
like,
what they were going through, and then you can start to kind of like it through that lens.
You also have to prepare yourself to listen to it, too, I feel like. Like when we did our Saint Anger episode, I remember thinking like, okay, deep breath. I'm about to listen to Saint Anger while I run errands in my car. And I think I told you, maybe I should talk about the show. Every red light I hit, I would turn it down. I didn't want
You didn't want
You don't even
the car next to you.
just in case there was like a freaking Justice cat parked next to me. Look at me
Which in
like
2017 is happening.
Oh,
There's like
yeah.
a straight up Justice guy.
just a Justice dude
Probably
pulling
Brad
a red light.
Blazek.
He's sitting there going, "Dear Mother, dear Father, Earth."
Dear Mother, dear Father Earth. All right, so what would you say would be your favorite Metallica record?
Right now,
now.
I love Hardwired. I think
Me
it's
too.
a great album front to back.
Yep.
There's maybe one song that I skip every now and then.
What's
Murder
that?
One?
That's mine.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't. I might have heard it live once. I don't know if I have. You could probably look through my set list and find it if I have. But Spit Out the Bone for me is just a man. To me, that's still my number one right now, and it has
it's
been
great, yeah.
since the album came out. A year and a half ago now.
It gets better for me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All 7.5 minutes of it.
Some of their best songs are 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I just the other night, Jack O'Shea, our friend,
Who you're going on tour with in a few
going
days.
on tour with, yeah. He listened to Hardwired when it first came out, but didn't really like stick with it. And the other night, I helped him make a bunch of buttons at my house for our shows, and we had Hardwired cranking, and he was just like, "Dude, I remember listening to this when it came out, but this is fucking good." And then I just went straight to Spit Out the Bone. I'm like, listen to this shit.
Spit Out the Bones is a instant classic.
Yeah.
So is Moth, I believe, and maybe even Halo.
Atlas.
Classic. I mean, you're right, dude. The Hardwired is.
It's 12. Was it 12? Right?
How many songs are on it?
Yeah.
And it's 12 tracks.
12 tracks. Like I said, there's not a really bad one on there. I don't think.
Well, even Murder One, I like. I love what it's about. I love the vibe behind it. To me, it's the one skipper for me. What can I say?
Now, if I'm focusing and listening to it, I might skip it. If it's just on while I'm making buttons or doing whatever, then I'll let it
problem.
ride for sure.
All right, you prepared a top 5?
Yeah, kind of. Just it's
loose.
The 5 that I always have in rotation. That's the first 5 in my gym playlist. Hardwired.
Are we starting from 5 down?
Number
to 1?
5 is Hardwired.
Okay, 5 Hardwired. Okay.
That's just I've listened to it now 30 something times live. To me, it's a good song. It's a good start song, I think.
Great opener.
It's good and fast.
When I was in the Snake Pit and James came out in St. Louis and started playing Hardwired, he came and stood right in front of where we were, and he was just closing his eyes playing that riff. and I almost cried. It was the only verklempt moment I had, and I got over it real quick, and then I was just ready to rock. But hearing the power of the song and seeing him just really be in it, like he was fucking immersed.
Oh yeah,
you can tell that it's something he has a lot of passion for.
Exactly. Like
Yes.
I just could see like, oh, he's not full of shit. He means it. I'm not prepared for this. I'm gonna cry.
Oh my god, here we go.
Okay, so
Brad, give me your shoulder.
Blackened.
Well, yeah.
Holy shit.
I mean,
Yeah.
thank you instead.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't fuck with Blackened.
Absolutely.
Cyanide.
Interesting.
Yeah, nice.
And I don't know why.
I love that song.
No,
I do too.
I love it too.
I don't know why I don't know if I just connect with the song. I don't know what it is about it, but that's one of those that I will not skip it.
Well, we talked about this on, I think it was the underappreciated episode. Cyanide was on my list, and one of my favorite moments is the chorus when the guitar riff it matches James's vocal.
Yeah.
I think that's so bitchin'.
Well, it's arguably the hookiest song on Death Magnetic.
I'm pretty close.
And a killer concept, Cyanide, I've already died. In fact, Nick Makoviak's art that he gave for us for Cover Over Blackened is based on Cyanide, so it's this like face coming off a skull. Anyway, all right. After Cyanide.
My 1 and 2 are a hard tie with Fuel, just because of
I love that.
seeing it that many times. I know you would.
I love that. It feels.
So would you say that Fuel is up there for you? Would it have a lot to do with the production of the show? And stuff like that?
Yeah,
well, because he's seen the power of that song in fucking stadiums over 30 times in a row.
Yeah.
That's one of my arguments for it.
That's one of those songs. I think that was one of the first ones that I really remember hearing when I was first getting into the band, and
that's why
I remember hearing it on the radio, and you just that was Fuel.
That's why I said one time, and a fan kind of ate me alive on it, where I said Fuel in some ways for some generations is like Inner Sandman.
Oh, for sure.
Because it was that big.
Yeah.
And someone kind of like wrote me a scathing email about me saying that. But
yeah. It's true, though.
I know pound for pound it's not as big as Inner Sandman, but for some people like you, and I would actually be similar to that maybe, Fuel was a huge deal.
And like I said, that was one of the first songs that I really remember listening to. I'm 29 now, so that was, it probably came out when I was
7 years older than me, so yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember the old stuff. I guess old. I don't know the original. The first 5 albums.
Do you remember like Black Album MTV?
Not really,
because you would have been, if you're 29 now, so you would have been like 6 or something.
Yeah, and that's when I was country. I was Garth Brooks and George Strait.
Yeah.
That was just what I grew up
Good
on.
stuff too, though.
But tied for my number 1 is Spit Out the Bone. Woo! That's just one of those.
Love that.
I know.
I can't
I love
stop that song.
2 Hardwired songs in your top 5 list. That's awesome.
And part of that might be because I've spent the past year listening to that album pretty much over and over and over again.
I think we could explain it that way. I think also it might be true that it's that good.
It's
it's that good, and not only have you listened to the record a ton since it came out, but I mean, you were on that tour where they're playing at least 5 of those songs every night.
That was the one song that they didn't play in North America, and when they first played it overseas,
they debuted it in London.
Was it London Night 2 or something like that?
Yeah, it was Night 2, yeah.
I remember middle of the night getting the little Instagram pop-up of Spit Out the Bone. I was like, no.
I know.
Oh,
No.
they did it.
I know.
And trying to go back and piece it together from everybody's cell phone videos, and when they finally released the actual pro footage of
The Met footage,
the 2 guys actually recording it properly and just getting to see it. Oh,
Well, it's kind of become a staple now. I mean, they've
know.
played it a lot.
I'd be surprised if they didn't play it on the next U.S. arena tour.
Are you going to be able to go to any of these shows?
I'm hoping Nashville. I don't know what other ones yet. A lot of it depends on tour schedule.
Yeah.
January is normally a slow month. I actually had all of January off this year, which was nice. I don't know what next year.
Yeah, same with us. So.
Yeah.
Well,
If I'm here,
hopefully all 3 of us will be there.
if I'm in town, I'm there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, good God. Thank you for coming and sharing all this with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Dude, yeah, I mean, and like we said before, Matt lives out in Clarksville, so that's about hour drive, 45 minutes to an hour.
Roughly, yeah. I think it was like an hour and 20 to get here because it was kind of rainy and traffic was horrible in this town.
So we can't thank you enough for making the drive down here to HQ4.
HQ4, Paul Moak Studio.
Yeah, and man, it'd be fun to have you on again and talk Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be starting our Taylor Swift podcast 6 days.
I think we're calling it Swiftica.
Yeah. Where can people find you? So if people are interested in you, we mentioned your Instagram. Where else can people
That's
find you?
pretty much it. I have a Facebook, but I don't really use it.
Kind of off the grid a bit.
Yeah, I have it, and it's more just to kind of
It's for birthdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
know.
when people tell me happy birthday. But Instagram at SFXMatt, and you guys have tagged me in a few things. I know a few people have already followed me.
Well, it's cool because you'll post stuff from the road, like of setups and things, you know, or like a
Kind
flame
of
shooting
behind the
off
scenes
and-
shit a little bit. Yeah.
That's really all I use it for. Every now and then I post a picture of my fiance because she's prettier than me, or, you know, something on the road. It's always something
That's
about
true
the
for
road.
all of us, I think.
Well,
we
yeah.
all
Speak for yourselves. I'm pretty good looking. No, it is cool to follow Matt on Instagram and see those behind the scenes photos. I think I followed you after I met you at the Philly show and before we went to Detroit and started seeing like you posting stuff of, you know, maybe the fuel flames and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to go see this again. So yeah, follow Matt, SFX Matt. He's there for your special effects needs.
cool stuff, man.
And
Thanks.
if any of you want pyro at your wedding, hit up Matt too. He can make that happen.
Oh, yeah.
He'll blow your fiance's thumb off.
Or at least burn his arm hair.
No, thanks for everyone for listening. We've been growing a lot, and it's been really cool. And hearing from everyone, it's an exciting time to be a fan of the band. The Worldwired tour stretches into its second year, and it's an exciting record.
be
Two of
third
the
year.
songs. Third year. Wait. Oh, well,
technically.
They started promo in 2016.
Well, no, the
So
Mexico-
they did all of 2016, which was last year, right? What year is
2
this?
years ago. We're in 2018, I believe.
2018.
I believe it was fall of 2000.
Wait, are we in Back to the Future 2 or 3?
We're in part 2 right now.
Okay, 3.5.
Sorry, fall of 2016 was they started doing promo for the record. And
Yeah, they did
late night
all of
appearances,
17
some
was
club shows.
Yeah,
you know.
all of 17 was the outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
Then all of this year, they're going all the way into March so far. Is what they
Well,
have.
that's when the goddamn Nashville show is.
Yeah,
Nashville's
That's
January.
20 something. It's so far away. I actually had somebody comment to me today about how far away that is. It's 9 months away almost.
Yeah.
Or 10, 11.
If you're going to a March
numbers.
show in 2019, it's March 1st as we're recording this.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Thank God this fucking Metal Up Your Podcast exists so we can all get our Monday fixes on Metallica while we await the slow death of the next show.
Yep.
All right. Go leave us the review on the thing. We'll give you things for it.
All things.
Go check out metalupyourpodcast.com. It's
Buy a
bitchin'. God, whatever. Buy a thing.
Check out Patreon. We're there. Good things to listen to tiers to donate to. You get the EP, and you heard a clip of our Patreon thing earlier. But
I'm losing steam on this part of it. Let's just get out of here.
let's get out of here. Matt, thank you again.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Matt.
guys.
Peace.
Adios.
If you were our advisor, what would you say? Then I would say delete that.